Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast where we explore the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John Campbell, how are you, my friend?
I am doing all right. I'm happy to be back with our good friend Peter Cushing.
I am too, though I regret to inform our listeners that after a lot of consideration, I've come down on the side that Frankenstein must be destroyed.
It's a hard stance. We're not normally ones to take on controversial stances on this show, but somebody had to say it.
Stones in a glass house.
Somebody had to say it, you know?
It's a hot take.
It is, unfortunate. Yes, Frankenstein must be destroyed. So was claimed in 1969 when this film was released.
Amen, brother.
I love this title. Much like Dracula has risen from the grave, Frankenstein must be destroyed. These are just titles that suck you in, man.
I do like. I think I said this last week too. I do like this turn where Hammer starts doing these kinds of titles.
Yeah.
Even if the movies, often don't quite live up to them. It's a great title.
Yeah.
Just like we got Taste the Blood of Dracula.
I love the exclamation title. I love the exclamation titles, right? Dracula has risen from the grave. Frankenstein must be destroyed. Taste the blood of Dracula.
Normally, I don't like being told what to do, though. So I'm like, I will not.
Yeah.
Taste the blood of Dracula. Thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe Frankenstein gets a break.
Yeah.
Maybe cut him some slack. Cut Frankenstein some slack was a working title for this film.
Well,
they went another way with it.
That was kind of the last movie I felt was cut Frankenstein some slack, where he had a real why is everybody bothering me attitude.
It is interesting that we have the same actor playing the same character in multiple films, and with the exception of the first two in the series, almost every single take on this has been different. This one does swing back towards a Cushing Frankenstein that we've seen before.
This is what I will say. If you like those first two and want to keep going, I would say skip to this one, because it kind of works as the third movie of those.
Sort of does. I mean, it ignores and dances around. It's not trying to tie in plot, but character-wise, this seems like the same guy.
It does, but the other thing that plot-wise does kind of work is he talks about having cracked brain, transference, and now he's looking to preserve brains for long periods of time. So even still, the plot almost kind of,
That's right.
It does seem like he's continuing from the research we last saw him doing in that second movie.
Yep, very true, very true.
And so I do sort of, there was a nice, feeling to me that maybe overrides my opinion of this movie in general, which is just like, oh, this is getting back to the Frankenstein I like the most.
Well, yes. Well, besides what his, this one is a different, with each one of these Frankenstein films, they are also sort of reinterpreting each time what his goals are, kind of what the mission is.
Yeah.
And what I find really interesting, and it's only from an overview of us having done these over the course of a year, and this might be our 1 year anniversary, by the way, John.
Thereabout. Yeah.
Thereabout. But it's interesting how Universal, and of course Mary Shelley's novel, it took a very quasi spiritualistic, humanistic, it had bigger religious themes. Once Hammer takes over, it becomes much more about the idea of science being the ends, justifying the means kind of thing.
Yeah.
And by this movie gave me serious, it's almost proto Cronenberg. This has nothing anymore to do with the soul. It has nothing anymore to do with, now I know what it feels like to be God. Now it is literally just about, oh no, we can totally preserve brains, put them in these bodies. It's no longer about digging up corpses, and there's no more talk about whether or not this is right in the eyes of God. It's just about, it's almost this body horror criminal drama. It's a criminal drama. It's just this
Which I totally, but I'm here for that, man. I mean,
I know, I
I'm
know.
way on board for Proto Cronenberg. I'm a big Cronenberg
Yes,
fan. So.
and I'm also but mainly boils down to I like a Dr. Frankenstein, especially played by Cushing, who my preference is, of course, the source material,
Sure.
and this is very far away from Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
But if I'm watching Hammer movies and it's Dr. Frankenstein, it's Baron Frankenstein, I want this one. I want the villainous, and in this movie he adds blackmail and rape to a list of his crimes.
This is unquestionably the most villainous, right? I mean, he's
He
just
is
openly
horrible.
a murderer at this point. He is pretty much just a serial killer now.
He starts off basically Jack the Rippering.
I love the beginning of this
the
movie so much because it delivers what I want out of a Hammer movie right off the bat.
We will, of course, talk about our sweeping feelings of this film, but I will say that the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of this movie justify pretty much everything in between.
I'm glad you said that because I also think this is one of the best climaxes we've seen to a Hammer movie.
Yeah,
the end of this movie is awesome, and usually the ends kind of dip out on these movies, but this has got
goes in a weird direction. Because I will say that the middle of the movie, the meat of the movie, there's a lot. Mainly, my problem so far, which we'll talk about, is it is kind of slow and stodgy, and there's a good long while before we get to a lot of that body horror stuff.
I will agree with you there. This is an hour 40. This is on the longer end of Hammer movies, and I don't think I think that the beginning so excited me, and the end got me back so much that I've maybe let
somewhere
some of
in the middle is finally where we're opening heads.
Yeah, right.
So it's almost like they knew. They're like, we are losing people.
Yeah.
Quick, put in a rape, put in some brains being taken out.
Yeah.
But anyway.
They could have I think this could have done by losing another 10 minutes and going down to the standard 90. I think that would have been beneficial to it. But,
I think so. Some trimming could have helped.
But what's here, there's so much good here that I ultimately really do enjoy this movie overall.
This is a dour, squalid film, which weirdly, as just a change of their pace, is very interesting. This is not a Jimmy Sangster script, obviously, but it is Terrence Fisher directing, and when he is feeling it in this movie, it's fucking awesome. And you're like, yeah, Terrence Fisher.
A new screenwriter for us.
Yeah, this guy was brought in by the producer, and
I can't help but notice his only screenplay credit.
Yeah,
this is it. Other than this, he's an assistant director. A long career as a successful assistant director on like big movies and TV shows and stuff. So interesting.
This was kind of it. Anthony Nelson Keys was one of Hammer's producers, and he's produced several of these, but basically Michael Carreras, who was the head of Hammer, said, hey, do you want to do the next Frankenstein? He's like, you want to produce it? He's like, sure. And he goes, okay, great, but you have to come up with the story. So Anthony Michael Keys did come up with the story, but then got his friend Burt Batt, this is his only screenplay, to write it. So it's an interesting one-off for this guy. And by the way, all that I just said is in lieu of me actually having our normal I don't have a prepared backstory for today's film. I read about it, but I was too lazy to actually write something down. I'm taking that on myself. I'll accept the blame.
Yeah. And we're going to get the emails, man. They're coming.
But in my defense, I was too overwhelmed with the fact that my birthday just passed, and this is the first Hammer film we're doing that I was alive for. Ladies and gentlemen, I was about 5 months old when this movie came out.
And I believe your parents took you to a screening of this.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was drooling all over myself. But even at 5 months, I knew that rape scene did not feel right. That it was really out of place.
It really doesn't. Well, we'll get to it, but it's a perfect example of like we already knew he was evil, man. Like we don't need to ratchet up the evil here.
Yeah, I'm teasing stuff we're not going to get to.
I do want to say I'm on Burt Batt's IMDb page here.
Yeah.
This guy was a second unit director on The Dirty Dozen.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. Also, second unit director on Return of the Pink Panther, A Bridge Too Far, Enemy Mine, The Man Who Would Be King, Cross of Iron, The Sea Wolves,
Nice.
Never Ending Story 2.
Assistant director of a bunch of the Jeeves and Wooster stuff that Laurie and Fry did.
Oh, and I love that show.
Yeah.
I mean, continued working there for a while. He died in 2011 at 81.
Well, now we're all sad. Thanks for bringing that up.
He was 81. I mean, I don't know how sad we should get, but
he lasted a good long while.
It's still the greatest we've ever seen. If you listeners, if you've listened to my other show, The Green Mile, we did look up a guest star in there and went, this guy died kind of young, only to describe in his IMDb that he died, and this is the actual quote on the site, a hail of gunfire.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Who was this?
Some random guest star who only did a couple of things, but he was gunned down because, if I remember correctly, he was having an affair with somebody connected to the mob, and they just shot him to pieces, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were just we couldn't believe that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Just like George Reeve.
Yeah.
Well, not a hail of gunfire, but clearly he was offed by the mobster whose wife he was boinking.
Unquestionably, there's all
it was
the evidence.
not a suicide.
No.
Come on.
The evidence really doesn't point to that.
TV Superman didn't kill him. So anyway,
no. You can watch the Ben Affleck movie about it.
Yeah, Hollywoodland.
Yeah.
So in lieu of me giving any more backstory, let's just jump to talking about the poster.
Oh yeah. Well, it's 1969 for sure on this poster.
Yeah, it's pretty pop arty-ish.
Yeah.
Again, one color, monochromatic with a lot of white space.
Yeah.
And the monochromatic is this sort of red orange. Yeah.
And so much writing.
There's a lot of writing on this. I will say that what really jumps out at you, though, is in fact Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. So at least they're selling the title.
Yeah.
And another thing that's very importantly and very prominently put on the poster is a face that you see for all of 2 minutes on screen.
I mean,
that is not the monster.
Yeah. It seems like it is.
It's very misleading. Yes, it does.
It really looks like it is. Here's the thing I like about it, because I'll just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and say that is Frankenstein.
Ow! Oof. A little more warning next time.
Sorry about that. That is Baron Frankenstein in disguise in that mask. Yet
that is such a strange plot device too, because it never comes back. It's just sort of like there at the beginning to make you go, what the fuck is this?
I loved it so much, and I wish it had continued, because it really starts to sell his supervillainy once again, that he's committing murders in disguise, even.
In disguise, in a brilliant latex mask that is so far beyond what you could have done in 1890, whatever.
You know what? He was the evil dark man of his day.
Yeah, about, 93 minutes into it, it starts to bubble, and I can't remember the time limit on those masks.
I want to say it's 89 minutes. I want to say it might be just under minutes. 90 or something like that.
There you go.
But, so he's wearing this mask that he wears for just a quick beat in the movie, yet he's using the drill that he uses to drill into the skull later in the movie.
Right, so this makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. And it looks like, based on this, that he's drilling into this woman's head.
Yeah, the crazy lady from the asylum.
Who's also in the movie for about a minute or two.
Yes, she is not prominent in the film at all. And yet, just because she's got a crazy, staring, horror movie-looking face, they put her on the poster. The actual, in quotes, air quotes, monster of the film is over to the left and small, and looks really dumb in this picture.
No, he's looking dopey. Like he's not. He's like, oh, what? Like based on this image, I expect this to be the Igor type character.
Yes, he looks or Otis. He looks like Otis. Super.
Oh, gee, Mr. Luthor.
Gee, Mr. Luthor. Yeah. Are we going to Addis Ababa, Dr. Frankenstein?
I don't know why you get me to steal all these bodies, Frankenstein. Okay.
And it's a picture of him it does happen in the movie, but of him holding two lamps.
Yeah.
You won't believe the horror in this film as this creature picks up lamps.
Excuse me, Dr. Frankenstein. Which lamp would you like to have in your office?
It's like, where do you want these?
I was just unpacking and I found a couple of extra lamps. Can I have these?
Dropped one. I guess I'll use this one. I die.
And once again, even smaller than our dopey-looking guy with the candles, is Dr. Frankenstein with a syringe. The star of the movie, the title character, the reason you would want to go see it, probably, is because it's Cushing as Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's pretty tiny. He's kind of central in the poster, but I think it's hilarious that essentially we get two Dr. Frankensteins on the poster. You just don't know it until you've seen the movie. Because you've got disguised Dr. Frankenstein quite big.
Yeah.
And then you've got actual Dr. Frankenstein just going, here's a syringe.
Yeah.
And then over to the right, I don't even know from.
It's the creature carrying Frankenstein back into the burning house at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I just don't remember that angle. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But again, unless you've seen the movie, all it looks like is a guy, fireman carrying another guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
That's why I gotta go. I want to see that guy carry that other guy.
I want to go because I couldn't make it through the first 3 chapters of text on the poster. I have to go see the movie to see what happens.
What I find absolutely shocking about this poster?
What is that?
No Veronica Carlson, no sex appeal being sold here at all.
Very interesting take. You're absolutely right.
Which is unusual for Hammer.
Veronica Carlson is back. We talked about her just last week. And she's on display in this movie. It's not obviously as sexy as what she did in the Dracula film, but she's definitely meant to be the eye candy. Sorry.
There's plenty of saucy promotional photos they took, certainly.
Right, but here on the poster, she's nowhere to be seen.
I want to talk about some of the promotional photos, but let's get through this poster first, because
we need to. Again, guys and gals at home, I hope you're seated comfortably because this will be the next 20 minutes. Is us reading.
Where to even start here? I guess the top of it here. What seems like the one tagline I would have gone with actually is just more monstrous than the monsters he created. That's great.
That's great. Sells it. And actually, that is a perfect encapsulation of the Hammer Frankenstein films.
Yeah, and that because that's what they're now this far into the franchise, they're selling it on. No. The real villain here is Frankenstein. This guy's trouble.
Yeah.
Because most of the monsters have been kind of pitiable.
Yes.
And really, this guy is a huge piece of shit, particularly in this movie.
He's just the worst.
And I love...
Though he always looks really dapper.
God damn. He wears that sort of red, pinkish coat at one point. He's
that
like...
maroonish, sort of Edwardian velvet coat. I'm
my
good God. Only that man with that frame could pull that off. If I put that on, I'm just saying...
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I'd be welcomed, is all I'm saying.
It was like that brief period of time that I wanted the orange tuxedo jacket from the Kingsman 2. And I was told, no, you got to be as hot as that guy to pull that off.
Yes, to pull that off.
And I saw that movie and thought, he's so fucking cool in that orange jacket.
He doesn't wear that we're talking about for the whole movie. It's really only in a couple scenes, but he can pull it off, and it reminds me very much of the Third Doctor, John Pertwee, in the very sort of mod velvet coat kind of thing, where it's like, it was late 60s, man.
One of my absolute favorite doctors. I love Pertwee.
Oh, of course, because he knew Venusian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he was the first badass doctor.
He was the physical fighting karate chopping doctor.
He was the doctor of action, and that's what I'm looking for.
Who also drove a Model T.
Well,
Come on.
He's got to. He was he was sort of the Bondian doctor a little bit.
Yes, well, he was also stuck on Earth. That was the whole thing. They were saving money, so he was grounded on Earth.
I'm also the one who had budget cuts.
I'm glad I'm remembered well, even though I am the cheapest of all the doctors, and that's saying something.
But you know what? They did a good job by dazzling us with other stuff, like the fighting and things that we're just like, I can't even tell.
I just love it. And him and the master. Oh, sorry, we totally got sidetracked. But,
look, man, this thing is ever riding the line of becoming a Doctor Who podcast. Let's be honest.
It's pretty much.
We're just gonna tip over any moment. All right, so more monsters than the monsters he created. That's also the biggest, most prominent tagline here.
Right, right.
The God,
right above the title.
Yeah.
Is because we gotta get to the bubbles, but first I want to talk about.
Oh my God!
Right above the title, we get a little column of text: "The good Dr. Frankenstein running amok with the transplanted brain of a madman." Period.
I mean,
all new,
yeah,
and all too terrifying. The most frightening, in quotes, Frankenstein, unquotes, movie ever filmed.
Hey, well, number one, the transplanted brain of a madman is kind of accurate, but it really promises something this movie. Well, he has gone mad, but it's not. Well, it's not. He's not dangerous like that makes you think.
No, he's a catatonic guy.
Yeah. But they keep saying he's gone mad. But when they say madman, I'm going like, ooh, he's using Jack the Ripper's brain or something.
Right? No. Another scientist being put in the body of another scientist.
We'll talk about that. I would love the murderer's brain in one of these things, and it actually going crazy and killing people.
Yeah. Or the kind of Orloff idea where you put the good brain in a body of a murderer, and then it turns out the body actually has memories of evil in it.
Yes. And then you get the guy going like, no, I don't want to do this as he's choking
Why? People. Yes, I can't control my hands as they're strangling this woman.
I love that. That's the kind of goofy shit I want out of a Hammer movie.
Amen, brother. But keep on going. You need to read these balloons.
All right, here we go. See the most fiendish monster ever conceived.
It's not true.
See the dead brought back to screaming life. Or screeching life. Sorry, the quality on this is not incredible.
No one dead is brought back to life.
That is true.
A living brain is transplanted into a dead body. But that's okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
See the bloody revolt and vengeance of Dr. Frankenstein. Revolt?
Nope.
The revolt is odd.
Vengeance? No, not vengeance either.
No, it's more of a, they'll see, I'll prove that I was right, which isn't really vengeance.
That's just his modus operandi always. Like, they'll see how brilliant I am.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
See the strangest brain transplant ever, ... done by the master. Why the ellipses?
Okay. I don't know. But you get ellipses in the next one too. Maybe they're on a roll with ellipses.
I'm okay with the ellipses on the last one. It's maybe not completely necessary, but this one really makes okay. Yeah. See the place where life completely stops and complete horror begins. That doesn't even make sentence structure sense. Like,
no, but I love the idea that there's a tour guy going, right over here on your right is where life completely stops. You probably want to, if you guys want to take some pictures there, that's good.
Also of note, this is also the place where complete horror begins.
Not everyone knows that. I'm glad you guys took the tour.
Little known fact.
Oh, God.
And then just a bunch of people in hats and plaid shirts are snapping pictures.
But, John, I'm taking you back to 1969. Does this sell you on this movie?
I mean, they had me at Frankenstein must be destroyed and Cushing.
Yes.
And more monsters than the monsters he created. I'm already in the theater. I'm not even reading the rest of these.
Yep. Nah,
you've got me. I'm in.
Now, I did some searching ahead on IMDb, and I don't see alternate posters, only like DVD covers. So
yeah,
I don't know if this is the UK or US poster.
I think it's the US only because it says Warner Brothers presents as the first thing.
Yeah, I've got that impression too. But actually, I take it back. Here's one in what looks like Hindi, and that one is really interesting. Black and white. No, there's not a lot of other.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, that one makes.
Oh no, wait. There is a one card. There's a lobby card that looks like was probably UK. Very bright pink title. Frankenstein must be destroyed. The screen's most fantastic fiend. And Hammer say so. Just like the one before.
That's it,
and
exactly.
Hammer say so.
They're just going like, trust us. Why would we lie? I want to talk about this series of 3 black and white publicity photos, though.
I know you do.
Which is Cushing and Veronica Carlson reading the script to this movie, conceivably, I guess. And they're just having the time of their lives. In fact,
they knew how uncomfortable parts of this movie were going to make you, so they wanted to put you at ease. These guys had a blast doing it. It was a fun time.
Well, and actually, according to the IMDb trivia, other than that rape scene, and even Cushing, she did love Cushing quite a bit. She has nothing but wonderful things to say about Cushing. So much so that this script reading turns into what looks like about to be a makeout session between them in that last photo.
Yes.
And
I don't see your problem with this.
The thing I think is interesting about these, he appears to be in costume. She is in a very 60s outfit.
She's got the go-go boots on. She's got the literal thigh-high go-go boots.
Though this now leads me to think this may just have been how Cushing dressed in his everyday life.
It could be. He's like, well, why bother? I'm just going to be in this anyway in every film I make. But I
showed up ready to film.
I do like the make-out pick because she's kind of like going, yeah, I'm into this. They've clearly tossed the script aside, and he's like going, I'm going to plant a grin on and think of my wife. It's not that he looks awkward but he looks fatherly. It's just
because he is older, and also we do know from his biography, this man adored his wife. Clearly,
adored his wife.
Never had anything close to a wandering eye.
No,
he was all about her.
Yep.
And then of course there is the one color photo publicity shot that is the cheesecake shot. And a Cushing with the expression of very much like, did we get it? Are we done here? I've done enough of these. I understand how it goes.
Oh boy, I just when we get to that scene, I wish I had been a fly on the wall where it's Terrence Fisher and him and Veronica Carlson all going, we have to do what?
Yeah,
wow.
That's what I love about it is no one likes this idea. Like.
It was all Michael Carreras, and it was all for the U.S., what he assumed the U.S. audiences wanted. So we'll get there.
We love sexual assault here in the U.S.
This is what those Yanks want. More of this, right? With the boobs and the forcing of the thing?
Well, they did talk about that they managed to get the boobs out of there.
Get the boobs out of here.
I
come back from my lunch break. What do I see? It's just boobs everywhere you look. Get the boobs out of here.
Get these out of here. Come on. But Terrence Fisher, where is this? I said. I thought I read this. The Fisher said this was his favorite of his Hammer movies.
Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously, I think besides that,
yes,
and other things that they added in late in the day that do make it a worse film, but he had no choice but to add. I think there's a lot there to be proud of. There's good stuff.
Fisher has mentioned in his multiple interviews, and later his daughter also said that this was his personal favorite, along with Horror of Dracula. Those were the 2 best ones he thought he made. Nice.
Well, I mean, there are pretty awesomely directed moments in this film, so I'm glad he was proud. I enjoyed it. You need to talk about some taglines, and then we need to get into this movie.
I do. Not that one poster didn't give us enough. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
No, actually, I believe all of these were on that poster, so we don't have to talk about these.
Yeah, that's true.
These aren't alternate taglines. These are all from one poster.
Yeah. All from one poster. I don't even know if you guys need to take a break at this point. I understand, but come back. We'll talk about the movie.
Here we go. Frankenstein must be destroyed.
What's the most notable thing about how this movie started, John?
Other than the decapitation?
Well, the fact that there are no credits.
Yes,
it's title, and we're in. The credits are at the end of the movie.
Which I want that for all movies. That's my favorite way.
I have never even I was like, what?
I love that. I'm still a fan of that to this day. When now, especially now, when a movie has opening titles, I'm like, what are you doing?
What do you?
Except for a Bond movie, which is grandfathered in because it's part of the formula. But
right, you start with the opening non-related action sequence, then you get your cool scope, rifle scope beginning in the theme.
Yeah.
And then naked ladies with neon or some sort of projections on their bodies.
They have backed off on the naked ladies a little bit these days.
Which I am not a fan of, and I've written many letters.
Now it's more like, let's project things on Daniel Craig's abs.
Dear broccolis.
Yeah.
Bring back the naked ladies with the projections on them.
The naked ladies who get nakeder and nakeder as they increase the resolution of the new releases. I've seen some of the 4K Bonds, and you can just full on see everything for the most part.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see everything.
Yeah. It's too late. I've seen everything.
I've seen everything.
Yeah.
I have always wanted to do, like, if I was bored, a master cut of all of the opening Bond sequences as just like a loop. Because the theme songs are all the best, man. And the visuals on some of them, of those openings, are awesome.
Yes.
Some are not great.
Right.
But most of them are pretty great.
Absolutely.
I wonder how long that cut would take. 25 movies, 3-minute sequences. That'd be about an hour plus, right? Of nothing but openings.
3 times
something like that.
75 minutes. 75 minutes, roughly,
of nothing but opening sequences.
There you go.
And naked ladies dancing.
Yeah. Go to Brendan's YouTube channel and watch that.
Oh, I don't have one. Sorry, folks.
I can't even imagine what would be on there. That, obviously, but and rantings about comic book movies.
Yeah, and Brave Star cartoons. But
but yeah, we start with the establishing shots of this town. It's a normal, European town of this era.
We're on the street.
We're on the street.
As opposed to only being on rooftops like the last movie.
I couldn't believe it. My God, we're on the streets.
Wait, are those cobblestones?
Well, you know how it goes. Dracula's on the roof. Frankenstein's on the street.
Yeah, word.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a typical kind of it's night and it's a little creepy and there's coaches.
A guy gets out of a coach and starts walking down the street, and it's very like, ooh, what's gonna happen? We don't know who anyone is.
You're seeing a lot of shots. Again, the opening is very well done, a little stretched out, but you see a figure, well-dressed figure with a cloak and some really nice shoes with spats and a cane and a mysterious big sort of metal round box, but you don't see who it is.
Yeah.
And trust me, I had no idea who this might be because they're teasing it.
Yeah.
But he's stalking somebody.
He is, yeah. And this guy turns towards a doctor's office.
Yes. And the person who we do see is apparently an older doctor, and he's heading to his office.
Yeah. When really out of nowhere, it's kind of a good scare, actually.
It's good.
Comes this curved, what is that, like a scythe? What is that thing?
It's like a little sickle. It's like a
sickle, that's it, yeah.
Scythe or sickle.
Yeah.
Comes out and just whacks his head off.
And then an insane amount of blood hits the door of this place. And it's chunky. There are bits in it. Yeah. I love it. This reminds me.
Hammer.
I did so many shots like this when I was making movies in high school, where something would happen and it would just cut to a wall being splattered with blood.
I thought you were going to say, I did so many shots like this at the bar. This looked a lot like a Bloody Mary.
I think I drank one of these last night. Can we scrape that off into a glass?
It does kind of look like it does have the consistency of a clamato. Anyway,
but this was a cheap way to imply violence without was just show a sword or a gun go and then just the wall being hit with a ton of blood.
But Hammer is not just going to let that go. Like, that is a good way to kick it off.
Yeah.
but they still show the head laying on the ground, and it's a pretty good one.
It's not
a pretty
bad.
good severed head.
We've seen some bad ones. This one's not
this
bad.
one's all right.
Yeah.
Well, they don't spend a long time on the face or anything. You're mainly seeing the stump, and you see like the spine in there and the vertebrae.
Well,
pretty good.
This thing must be sharp because it takes it off in one swing. That head just goes off, man.
Well, obviously, whoever's doing the swinging of this sickle has done this before, knows what he's doing, and has a good, strong arm. I still wonder who this person could be.
I don't know. Well, I will actually say, I was going, is this Frankenstein? Because we haven't seen Frankenstein openly murder people in the streets before. So there was a part of me going, well, it seems like it should be Frankenstein. However,
could be a Frankenstein helper.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure who it was, but I kept going, maybe it's, I don't know.
I had a feeling. Mainly because the legs were skinny, and
I'd know Cushing's legs anywhere.
I've spent way too much time studying
those gams. Come on,
those gams.
Yeah.
I call him Gam Moff Tarkin. Thank you. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. That's the last thing he ever said before they shut the podcast down.
Didn't you see the original costume design for Grand Moff Tarkin? He was in some short shorts.
Short shorts. He had cutoffs.
He was the Lieutenant Dangle of Reno 911 in space.
Vader goes, I find your lack of leggings disturbing.
I need my comfort and freedom, Lord Vader.
I'd recognize those knees anywhere. Princess Leia, charming to the last. Oh, those foul knees.
He's always striking sexy poses and finding reasons for his legs to be up on things.
Yeah, he always puts a foot up on a chair and talks about the Death Star.
Yes, send them in.
I'd like to
take
ask
a gander, fellas.
Our more artistic fans, and I know you have to be out there. Could someone please do some?
Please, for the love of God, draw this.
Of Grand Moff Tarkin in short shorts,
preferably, in a sexy pose, with his leg up on something.
Oh my God!
I desperately want that to happen. Please, somebody do that, because
Gam Moff Tarkin.
And if you could include the caption "Gam Moff Tarkin." We'll put it up on our Instagram, because
we're not going to pay you anything because we're both broke. But
it's a podcast. Come on.
So much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we cut to that. By the way, we've just gotten through the first scene of the movie.
We got the titles, which were in suitably red hammer blood letters.
Yeah. I'm going. This makes me go, I'm in. They got me.
We jumped in. We got a decapitation within like 2 minutes.
So then we have this guy who's a burglar.
Yeah, he's a terrible burglar. he's like whistling to himself.
Well, he's a real professional. He's at work here. Just getting this lock off the door now.
He is in the midst of, he's not picking the lock. He's literally unscrewing it. Like he's going to take the entire door handle off.
Yeah.
Then he hears approaching footsteps. And of course, I'm assuming, that's got to be like Frankenstein's lab he's about to break into or something. Yeah. And so he hears footsteps. He's like, got to hide. So then he ducks to the next doorway.
Yeah.
Which is just goddamn open. Like he could just walk in. And here's what cracked me up. The locked room, the locked building is not Frankenstein's lab.
The open
Frankenstein, the evil mad scientist with the dead bodies and everything, has left his lab unlocked. And the burglar,
I'm just stepping out for a second for a quick murder.
The burglar breaks
I'll be right back.
A wide open lab, and is like, and he ducks in. He sees a frozen body in a glass case, and he freaks out.
Yeah, and then he turns around, and this is where we see this scarred up, disfigured, bald gentleman. Ah!
Yeah. The guy in the spats in the cloak with the round box that now has a severed head in it is someone we weren't expecting. Yeah. I'm sitting there going, cue Cushing. Instead, it's a guy who looks like the old dude in the Six Flags commercials that used to do the dancing.
Yes.
Yes. It's a scarred, old-looking, or like burned victim-y,
and so my thought is,
dude.
oh shit, this is some kind of henchman of Frankenstein.
Right.
And these
and
two
they
get
start
into a
fighting.
scuffle. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fighting, and this glass case topples over and shatters.
Yep.
No, Frankenstein, whatever he was up to, it's been ruined, obviously.
That is the ruin of another fine dead body.
And this guy runs out of the place. This burglar runs out.
He
And
does see the severed head, by the way,
Yes.
roll out of the thing, too.
He
So
does.
he has seen a lot tonight.
And so he runs out of there. And then Mission Impossible style, off comes this mask. And it's Peter Cushing. What a great reveal of our main character.
It is great. And then he does a second grab at the base, pulls it up, and it's Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
And
it's somehow
weirdly,
Tom Cruise in 1969, but he looks exactly the same as he does now.
Something here. Dun, 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 dun,
Man,
dun,
you know,
dun.
I did enjoy this movie, but the movie you just pitched is a million times better, in my opinion.
But Peter Cushing, again, he's revealed to have
Yeah.
been wearing a disguise. Dr. Frankenstein is full on Jack the Rippering with a rubber mask on, and he goes to work.
I love this scene where he's like, that guy's obviously going to the cops, so I got to break this whole place down and get the fuck out of here.
And a trope that you love, that we have talked about several times in this Hammer series, he opens a fucking trap door. And apparently everywhere he goes, no matter where he sets up a lab, he goes, is there like a river under here?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. I'm just for my own curiosity. Is there some sort of body of water under this?
I'll tell you, Mr. Frankenstein, you're giving me quite the challenge as a realtor, but I think I found just the place.
He dumps that body.
Oh, he chucks that body right down there.
And the mask.
Yeah.
Ditches the mask.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's like, look, I know the jig is up any minute, so I got to be ready to take off at a moment's notice.
He does exactly that. Yeah. And do we immediately cut to the police station?
We see the burglar run out and talk to like a uniformed cop who's like, "What is it, man?" And he's like, I just, you know, and he's not making any sense.
Like, body, glass case. He's essentially been frightened almost to stupidity.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna get back to last week's movie where he's just grunting at a certain point, like that guy who saw the woman in the bell. So they
what's that, Flippy?
Yeah.
What's that, Flippy?
Old Timmy's in the well. What?
Trouble at SeaWorld?
Yeah. That was the unfortunately less successful knockoff of Flipper.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite seal, Flippy.
So instead they bring this cop, obviously we then cut to, he's brought him to Inspector Frisch.
Yeah.
Played
Inspector
by our
Frisch.
old friend Thorley Walters is back.
We like Thorley. However, here Thorley is unwelcomely meandery and blustery and supposedly comic relief.
Yeah, because he's this cop who's bumbling around this whole movie going, what? Ah, this is ridiculous.
Inspector Frisch was, as I was saying, another one of the last minute additions because they felt it needed some levity. And sadly,
it shows because he has no interaction with the plot really at all.
No, he serves no purpose other than the police are always 18 steps behind.
And he's not even there in the climax, though.
No, he serves no purpose. And they thought, well, we have to add this in. Talking about the movie could have used some shaving off. You could lose all of Inspector Frisch.
None of it.
And there would be
anything.
Yeah, make no difference.
There's no confrontation really between him and Frankenstein.
Nope. And there's these dumb scenes where everyone goes, well, I think it's probably someone with medical experience and a doctor. And he goes, oh, I don't think so. And then later in the movie, he goes, it's probably a doctor or someone with medical experience. And then we told you. And he goes, what? No, I just came up. And you're like, stop it. Stop.
Yeah.
No, not funny. And of all these Hammer movies that really aren't served by any kind of comedy, it's this one. Because as I said, this is a squalid, dour flick.
Love it. Those are all positive words for it, in my opinion. Yeah, the more down and squalid it gets, the more I like it.
I know. You're that guy.
I am that guy, especially when it comes to these things. This is what I've been waiting for, man. This is the tone I've wanted. This movie's messed up. So
it goes in some pretty daring areas I was not expecting it
does.
to do.
Some of them work and some of them don't. I am not on board for the rape scene by any stretch of the imagination.
What? Again, color me surprised. Or just color me, because I'm very pale.
So then it cuts to the cops have, of course, found the lab because it was right there and the door was open. And they're looking around going like, oh, boy, look at all this stuff.
I bet some sort of doctor worked here.
Because the inspector has another doctor who's with him in every scene.
Yes.
He's just okay. Good. I called him doctor in my notes, and he is just credited as police doctor. Jeffrey Belden plays police doctor.
All right, but okay, we can laugh about it, but that was also a successful tie-in with a TV series of the same name. He was the star of that, Police Doctor. The audiences of the day caught it.
Police Doctor was a show. Believe it or not. That's not a... Yes, it was. I
was being funny, John.
Well, I'll tell you right now. It was indeed... Oh, no. I'm sorry. Police Surgeon. That was it. Police Surgeon was a show that we obsessed about on The Incredible Hulk because over on the Green Mile when we found out, because we're like, he's a doctor and a cop? I don't understand.
Jesus.
Police Surgeon. This guy has a very faint 007 tie-in. Not a very faint, but he skirts the surface of the franchise because he was in
the Police Doctor?
Yeah, the Police Doctor, because he's in 1967's Casino Royale. He plays Q.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So technically he was the second Q?
Yes.
Because the American TV movie, then Casino Royale, and then...
No, it was already Desmond Llewellyn at that point. So if you're counting that, then we have 3 Q. He's the third Q. 67 is Casino Royale. And Desmond Llewellyn makes his debut in...
Yes, okay. All right, so he would have been the third
Love in 63.
Yes. Third Q.
Yeah.
Unless the American one didn't have a Q. I've never seen it. The American TV movie.
I bet it doesn't have a Q, but it might have a quartermaster or a Major Boothroyd.
Jim Bond.
Yeah. Jim Bond. He's an American. How you doing? It's me, Jim Bond.
I got a license to kill.
Yeah. I'll take it. Shaken, not stirred. Come on.
You know what? I'll just take a beer. What you got? What you got on tap?
Hey,
Jim Bond.
Yeah. You got a bud back there?
He doesn't even say 007. He goes, I'm ooh 7. Ooh 7.
Yeah. And they're like, whatever, nobody's going to watch this, so who cares? This guy was also
kind of popular.
This guy was also in some Doctor Who as well.
Good.
In 1979, he's in The Creature from the Pit.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's Tom
79.
Baker. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Baker. Doctor.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all we really have to say about, because basically all the scenes between Inspector Frisch and Police Doctor are
pointless.
Yeah, because it's always just the police doctor going, I think a doctor did this. And Frisch going, there's no evidence of that.
I have a feeling that after we've now had this discussion about those characters, we probably won't mention them again for the rest of the podcast because they serve no purpose.
I think I stopped taking notes on whatever they were doing because I'm like, it doesn't matter. Or it's just like, then the police show up and look at something. Anyway, they say this might correspond with the fact that we found a decapitated corpse down the street, and the mortuary's missing a body. So maybe that has to do here.
Exactly.
So,
and there's painful comedy of the mortuary guy, and they go, "Were you not going to tell anybody that you lost a body?" And he's like, "Going, no. Do you know who it was? No." I mean, it's just like, what is this?
It's not like he got up and walked out on his own. I think that's the punchline that ends the scene.
That's right.
Meanwhile, cut to Frankenstein's already on to the next town.
Yep.
He's already arrived in the new town. He shows up at a place. He gets a room. We're getting going here, man, because he shows up at Anna's, and this is Veronica Carlson.
Veronica Carlson is a lovely young woman who has turned her home into a boarding house.
Yes.
Almost exclusively of old dusty, duddery old dudes.
Yeah. It's because
Probably
it does
really
seem
like
like
the hot blonde who runs the house.
because it does seem like Cushing is the young hot guy in comparison to these people.
He really is.
Oh, I see. We've introduced some
young upstarts coming in.
I see we've introduced some youth into the place. I don't care for this.
Must be all of 51. Look at him in his magenta coat.
Yeah. He's hardly a man. He's a boy.
He's one of those progressives.
Yes. Haven't heard him harumph once the whole time he's been here.
Just goes into his room and listens to Procol Harum.
He's probably smoking a doobie in there.
Listening to his King Crimson albums.
and cut your hair while you're at it, you dirty hippie.
He's got the cool 70s sideburns, but he's had those for a couple of movies.
Yeah.
Cool 60s sideburns.
Yeah.
And again, however he looks awesome because he's Peter Cushing.
He just comes
and I would trade my DNA in a second with that of Peter Cushing.
100% right there with you.
Commands the room.
Yeah.
Commands the room.
He does.
But he walks in and he's somewhat charming and he's like, "Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm looking for a room. My name is what's the name he goes by?
I forgot it, and it's something. Let me see here.
It's with an F, but it's not one of those cheesy like I'm Dr. Frank. It's like
no, he's gotten better at that than we've seen some of the other movies. Didn't he just go with Stein at one point?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think it's Finner.
Oh, I think it is. That sounds right.
And he doesn't say that he's a doctor. I don't think. Maybe he does. I don't know. But he comes in all like, I'm Mr. Charming. I just need a room.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, yes. Don't worry. It's nothing but old men here, so you'll have plenty of peace and quiet. And then this hard... Oh, that's what she said. There's plenty of peace and quiet. Hard cut to the screaming woman in the mental institution. That's what it is. Which actually again, legitimately scared the shit out of me, this cut.
I will say this. It didn't scare me necessarily, but I was watching this on my TV and it was loud. It's a good scream, and that's obviously why this woman was cast.
Yeah.
Holy hell. I was like, volume.
Oh, God.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. I watch all these movies with my headphones on. I always watch. And so I think that really, Jesus Christ, this really got me.
This is a good, I mean, Fisher has done this several times. It's one of there's a black humor to the way he chooses to do these cuts. It's very Hammer, but it's like, yeah.
And I like the black humor. When they try the broad humor is when it doesn't work in these movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't try to be funny, ha.
Right. So peace and quiet leads to screaming woman in an asylum.
And this is where we meet Carl. Who's this? It's Carl, played by Simon Ward, who has kind of
good
a
long career,
sinister look to me, I will say.
Well, he reminded me a lot of Michael York. I mean, there's a certain British actor of that period,
very Michael York,
that had kind of the tousled, boyish hair and kind of the sullen face.
Young Malcolm McDowell had that vibe to him as well. Yeah, they were all cut from that. So although I do like those guys better than him, certainly.
But just like a Roger Daltrey lookalike, this is another one where he said, we got to get a young hottie guy.
Yeah,
he's not as appealing as the dude from last week.
No,
but Simon Ward, if you look at his IMDb, long career.
Well,
actually became one of the an established guy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's very much a character actor. I think this
was his first movie.
Yeah, and it's an odd fit. I'm not sure this is the right kind of part for him because looking at the stuff, I mean, he definitely fell more into character work later on, which I think maybe was.
And he clearly became a favorite of the Salkinds because he was in.
Yes, this is exactly what I wanted to point out. He does share the screen with Michael York in the Four Musketeers.
And then he was in Supergirl.
He plays Zor-El in Supergirl.
Yep.
A movie I watched a lot as a kid.
Oof. I'm very sorry.
Hey, man.
Except for, I will say, perfect casting.
Oh.
Helen, she's just Helen Slater is perfect.
Well, and now I'm talking like 4 or 5. There are limited options, and it's a Supergirl movie, so I was watching anything.
Yep.
It's just like,
and
hey,
you
man.
were exposed to Faye Dunaway at a very young age.
I was, yeah.
With me it was Network and and Chinatown.
Yeah.
And then Supergirl.
Yeah.
But you
No,
started
I was like Bonnie and Clyde with with the woman from Supergirl.
I know her. She was a witch.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I have not seen that movie in many, many years, but as a kid, I watched it. I'm content to remember liking it as a kid. And I remember just being like, when Mark McClure showed up as Jimmy Olsen, I'm like, oh, they're in the same world.
And all I could think is, anytime I think of that movie, I get hungry for KFC. Because of notorious product placements all over that movie.
Chicken right now.
Every scene happened in front of a KFC.
Yeah.
But Man of Steel had the same thing. Man of Steel was like, man, I could go to IHOP right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they wrecked the shit out of that IHOP in that movie.
Kryptonians hate pancakes.
And Pete Ross was the manager of said IHOP in that film, which
he was
interesting.
He was.
Yeah, that makes me sad. That's what I mean. No offense to the managers of IHOPs, but poor Pete Ross.
I keep expecting Pete Ross to show up in Superman and Lois.
I'm waiting for it, man. I feel like it's inevitable, though. They've mentioned him a few times.
Why didn't he marry Lana Lang?
Look, now we're just off on this tangent. I'm waiting for that to be a thing.
Sorry.
That's my theory of what's coming, though.
Superman, I can't get into Superman.
I mean, because if we're tipping one way into a Doctor Who podcast, we're also right on the edge of a Superman podcast too.
Supercast.
Yeah.
Odd man.
Anyway, we have to start picking up the pace on this movie. We're so early still. Yeah. So Carl is one of the doctors at this asylum. And so he comes.
He's like a junior doctor.
He comes in and sedates the screaming woman who keeps screaming there are spiders all over her.
By the way, spoiler for the audience, there are no spiders on her.
Not a spider in this picture.
Nope.
It's a spider-free picture. So all you arachnophobes out there, this movie is totally cool for you.
Spiderless.
Yeah. That's how I judge movies. There's spiders or not in this thing. You tell me.
But we also, in this scene, are we introduced to Dr. What's his name in this scene already?
Yes, because after he's done here, he walks out into the hallway, and they're discussing Dr. Brandt,
right?
Who's in the cell next to him with the other older doctor. There are too many doctors in this movie, I will say.
There are. Carl technically is a doctor, but everyone just calls him Carl because he's like a young assistant guy.
Right.
But there's Professor Richter, who we'll meet later. There is also Dr. Brandt, who apparently was a brilliant doctor, but now he's in the asylum, where he's basically mute and catatonic.
Yeah. And there's also Dr. Heideck, who's, I think, the head of this place. Heideck is the sort of chief doctor of this place.
Right.
But anyway, there's a lot of characters with doctor in front of it. And it's a little bit like, okay, because when they start swapping brains later, I'm like, so what? Okay.
Man.
Right.
Wait, who's in what body?
Yeah. Oh, it's a real brain switcheroo of a movie.
Oh boy,
you'll never know whose brain is where.
It's actually not true. Only one brain gets swapped out.
It's actually really easy to follow.
Yeah, it's really sorry. We've lied.
And they talk about, well, it's unfortunate, we've done all we can. He can't be cured. He'll be mad forever, Dr. Brandt. It's a shame, but it's true.
Yeah, the head of the place, it basically just sort of comes out and goes, well, I've examined his case very closely, and he's a goner. He's just going to sit there.
Madness.
He will be drooling on himself for the rest of time.
Oh, I'll have to tell his wife, but not happy about it. So then we cut back to the boarding house where Frankenstein is staying, and this is where he really makes an entrance into this drawing room in his sweet maroon coat.
Damn.
Yeah, it is like, gentlemen, drink it in.
Before he walks in, aren't they talking about him like going, I don't know why he has to be so rude. Like the old dudes.
Is that what they're talking about? Because they will later just call him rude to his face, but maybe they are before that.
No, yeah. In this part, they're like going, I passed him in the hallway, and I don't know why he has to be such a brusque, rude dude.
Because then they all kind of shut up when he walks in.
Yes. So they've been talking about the new kid in town, and the new kid apparently is very rude to them.
Yeah. The new new 50-year-old kid who's in town.
Yes. But he walks in and it's just like they shut up and they start a casual conversation about local whatever.
Yeah.
Reading out of the paper.
And then they do get around to, oh, terrible to hear about that Dr. Brandt. Yes, he had some rather crazy ideas, didn't he?
This is one of those things where, of course, the news of the day would tie in directly to what Frankenstein is here to investigate. But they're talking about
at
poor
a
Dr.
desk
Brandt.
writing something, but also clearly being like,
He's eavesdropping, and they're talking about Dr. Brandt, and it's all just local news that he's like, oh, the poor brilliant man who had weird theories, and he's now a lunatic in an asylum.
He said you could transplant a brain from one man to another. Yeah. Oh, he wasn't the only one, though. What was the name of that other real kook?
Yeah, they actually do this. They actually go, who was the other guy that we heard about?
He was a real crazy.
They say he was in Bohemia.
Yeah, Dr. Frankenstein
from Bohemia.
Yeah. And then around this time is when Frankenstein turns around and says, yes, are you men doctors? And they say, well, no, why would you think such a thing? Well, I just thought that you knew what you were talking about. And they're like, what? Well, I never. And then for the next minute, he just burns him so hard.
At the end of the scene, which I mean, I can't claim to know the origin of a lot of the cool sayings, but it was amazing when you get to the end of the scene and he actually says, do you gentlemen need some aloe for that burn? And I was like, really? 1969?
Yeah.
Those burns look
pretty sick, fellas.
Sick burn. He does. He roasts them in a superior Baron Frankenstein way.
I didn't write it all down, but it was because I was just watching it going, Cushing's just wrecking these dudes.
He destroys them in the superior way that I want a Baron Frankenstein.
And it is basically leaving them like, I never.
It's pretty much an I never. Yeah. And then he walks out cool as can be.
Yeah.
He leaves corpses in his wake.
So then Carl arrives to see Anna, and we see that he drops a box of something outside the door before he enters.
This is a pretty, labored way of introducing this. It was like, okay, whatever. But yes, this is how everything ties together. Carl is Anna's boyfriend. Yeah. So he comes to see her at the boarding house. He drops a packet on the
and we get this whole conversation back and forth between them where she talks about, boy, I wish you didn't have to do such illicit things. Well, he's only doing it so her mother can be in some comfortable place because she's ill.
John, your yawn was perfectly placed because we're starting to get into the boring, story of this that isn't Frankenstein related. But yes, they're both poor, and poor Anna's mother is sick.
Yeah.
And so Carl, this is what we find out. And it's kind of a interesting concept. Carl is stealing drugs from the asylum to basically sell them to make money to support them. And it's sympathetically done. He's not really a villain. But anyway, guess what happens?
The narcotics king of this town now, though. But then the door opens. Dr. Frankenstein goes, oh, I believe you dropped this, young man. And he
hands it off to him.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that box contains cocaine.
Yeah.
And I just love that he's like, yes, I've put this all together.
Well, what's great is that Carl at first is like, oh, thank you. Yes, it must have been me. And he's like, yeah, looks like that's cocaine. He's like, oh, well, I work in an asylum and would probably just, but he's clearly trying to move past it. And Frankenstein's like going, no.
Yeah.
I know what this is. And this is my opportunity to blackmail. And this is a new twist on Frankenstein. He's like going, I need access to Dr. Brandt. I need an assistant. And I just got both in you, Mr. Carl.
Well, because he keeps going, well, yes, if you were to be discovered doing this, I'd say you'd spend a good 20 years in prison. And you, young lady, you'd probably get 10 as an accessory. Ooh, that
and you, young man, are so pretty. You'd be the prettiest girl at the ball.
It'll pass you around like currency. Oh, I know a thing or two about prisons. I spent a few hours in one before I was not guillotined. Anywho, yeah, and he's just gonna, and they go, well, how much will it take? Oh, no, I'm not interested in money.
Yeah. Frankenstein's like, I'm not blackmailing you for money.
Yeah.
You got to get me into Brant.
This stuff with them is boring, but I love this scene with Cushing. Like, because Cushing being evil is great.
No, I light up anytime he's there.
Yeah.
It's literally every time.
I don't give a shit about these two in their
Simon
relationship.
Ward is like 20-something. It's his first movie.
Yeah.
He's not bad, but he doesn't add anything. And Veronica Carlson is fine, but here she doesn't get that character turn where she got to be innocent and then sexy. Here she's just good Anna. She's just good Anna. And so there's not much interesting.
The thing I will say that I like about this is at least they're already together, and there's not this like, if only society couldn't keep us apart, we don't have any of that or him wooing her or anything like that. They're already a couple and they're in a jam together. Yeah. And we also don't have him hiding this from her, doing it secretly. They're both in it. So I do like that.
She's in it.
Yeah. Because the first thing he wants to do is get all these old fucks out of here.
Yeah, it's pretty great. One of the first things he does is like, you got to kick all these other boarders out because I ain't playing.
Yeah.
And so she sends them on their way, and she feels terrible about it. And they're like, "How could you do this, Anna? We've taken good care of you, and we love being here."
It's another never in my life have I been treated
never
like that.
in my life have I been ousted.
Like a common criminal.
But Frankenstein gets his way.
Yeah, he sure does. And then he's like, all right, we're going to go steal some shit, Carl. And so they're going around stealing medical equipment, which I will only mention these guys because the reason we know they're stealing medical equipment is the inspector and the police doctor hear about stolen medical equipment. And once again, clearly that indicates a doctor. There's no evidence of that just yet. Anyway.
And they will be fast on their heels because something happens in the course of them stealing this stuff.
Yeah. A night watchman makes an appearance, and Carl ends up stabbing him and murdering him.
Carl, does he stab him? Because it looks like he does the world's quickest, I'm strangling the guy from behind.
No, because he has the knife with blood on it. He pulls out here, and that's when and they even say later, whoever stabbed this guy knew exactly where to stab him.
Oh, right,
it's another evidence that it's a doctor. But Inspector just isn't quite sure still at that point. Maybe.
But watching it just looked like an extremely unconvincing sleeper hold. I was like, really? The guy just went down from that?
Because he stabs him between the ribs, but it's below camera. It's not a shot thing. Because even I went, I guess he stabbed him.
But Carl, who is, he was doing this crooked thing, but for a good reason. But now he has actually killed somebody, and he's like, oh, fuck, I've killed somebody. And Frankenstein's like, yeah, and?
No, I love Frankenstein goes, so I believe most doctors take an oath to do no harm.
Yeah, that's right.
But I suppose you aren't a rigid believer in this.
Yeah, so I guess you kind of skipped the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah. I love it, too, because he's more like, oh, yeah, you're definitely under my thumb now, pal.
It's just another thing where he's like going, yep, you just try...
Yeah,
double cross me.
And so it cuts back to Frankenstein setting up his lab in the basement of Anna's place here, with his secret entrance under the stairs, which we'll find later. But Anna's screaming at him, going, "Well, ever since you went out on that last, theft, Carl hasn't said a word. He keeps staring off into the distance. He refuses to talk or look at me, and he's like, I don't have time for this."
Frankenstein's not your friend.
Yeah.
I felt for Carl.
Yeah. He's in a bad spot here. Because then Anna goes back upstairs, and Carl does tell her, I killed a man. I murdered him. And he says, "You need to get out of here because shit's getting real."
Again, this kind of transparency is refreshing in this movie, where it's not all about
that's
fighting
the stuff
stuff.
I
He's
have
like, I
to say
killed the guy
positively
now.
about their relationship. Is we're
Yeah.
not doing the I can't tell her about the truth of. They're in it together. They're full partners, which I appreciate.
Yeah, they share a common fate.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, they're both doomed. Everyone in this
spoiler.
movie is doomed.
Everybody.
Except for the
Nobody
inspector and the police doctor, because they don't arrive into the plot soon enough to be doomed.
And Brant's wife.
Oh, yeah, I guess she makes it too.
But it's weird that she even... I don't know why she becomes a character that we care about. Because she shows up pretty late. But anyway.
She does. So, but Anna refuses to leave, saying she's not going to leave him. And then Carl starts asking Frankenstein questions about, what are we doing here? What is this? And Frankenstein just fucking backhands this guy. Slaps
Indeed.
the taste right out of his mouth. I love it. And at this point he says, I am not the man you think I am. I am Baron Frankenstein.
Yeah, and then the lightning crashes. It's pretty awesome.
And I just want to... Yes.
Another thing I love about about Cushing's Frankenstein is he is a mad doctor, but he's never... I mean, you know...
He's never...
Colin Clyde is emotionally unstable, and that's a great take.
And I love we very much were very positive towards Clyde's performance. Yeah,
love it. But this is he's mad in the sense that it's amoral, sociopathic madness.
That's it exactly.
And he's brilliant. And
he will not be deterred.
Out of control. He will not be deterred.
No, this is not an unstable, cackling madman by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and he's just convinced he's right.
Yeah.
And that he will be proven right. Yeah. And that society will bow to his genius.
I love it. I mean, it's very Lex Luthor-y in that sense.
It is.
I love, man. It's the best.
I love the supervillain.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's just like, oh no, the world will see one day. And whatever means, you know, he's a total ends justify the means kind of guy.
Yep.
Because he's like, when they see, they're not going to care that I was cutting heads off. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder about that. I wonder even if the biggest discovery in the world came out and they're like, well, we did have to kill some innocent people for it, but look at this. We've cured cancer. Would we all go, all right, I guess?
Honestly,
yeah,
I feel like we might let it slide depending on the importance of what you're talking about. Like, we've cured cancer, but we had to kill these 10 people. I think everybody would be like, yeah, I mean, things happen.
Oh my God, we're in ethics class. Oh my God, it's a hypothetical.
Yep. That's inevitably where the show was going as well. And so I
used to tune in for them talking about horror movies, but then I got really into their ethical dilemmas. They would talk about their hypothetical ethical problems.
I do like them in their Ocean's 11 style. Here's the map of the asylum. His cell is here. He's doing this, you know.
Yeah, at this point it becomes like, all right, well, we can break in. But there's this crazy lady who screams a lot because of the spiders. I could sedate her, but I don't work that shift, and I have to get access to the drugs, and Frankenstein goes, make it work, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, just make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. He goes, okay.
Because he says, what do you want with Dr. Brand? He's like, well, first, I'll cure his insanity. Which
I love that, where he just goes, look, he's crazy, but I'll fix the crazy.
Yeah.
I'm also going to put his brain in a new body.
That's it. I'm going to put the brain in the new body, fix what's wrong with the brain, and then we're good to go.
Here's one of my problems is he clearly says that man's brilliant brain in a fresh, young body. Mm-hmm. And then the body gets put into is this other professor guy he's not old.
Isn't that out of desperation, though, because he's going to die soon, so they have to get into a body quick?
I guess so, but it just seemed like, dude, this is the guy?
Yeah.
This is the body you're going to give him?
The dumpy, middle-aged doctor.
I think it's literally just because the actor who gets the brain in his body they found a really good actor. And they were like going...
Yeah, because he actually is great. He's so good down the stretch.
When he finally gets to
I thought this was heading towards he was going to try to put it in Carl's body.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
But guess what? That's not where we're going.
Sweet, sweet young body. So anyway,
out for me.
Yeah, that's it.
Have you ever worn short shorts? I'm fond of them myself.
That's it. Show off the goods. Make love to the camera.
Make love to the tin-tight camera. Let me get under this weird sort of curtain thing and the hood.
Oh, that's the stuff.
Hold that pose for the next 15 minutes while I expose the film.
That's it. Yeah. When are we gonna get the fashion model Frankenstein movie? Yes.
Well, I thought it would be when he created Woman, but
weirdly not. That one was weirdly not sexy. You know,
it really wasn't.
So then they go. Oh, Brant's wife is brought to the mental institution. They're like, "Yeah, permanent crazy that one."
And they bring her in just to basically rub her face in the fact that, like, well, you may as well say goodbye to him now because he's just going to be a drooling idiot for the rest of the time.
They said you really shouldn't visit him ever again.
They really do.
They do say that. That one's not a joke. That's a real line in the movie.
They say you probably shouldn't visit him anymore. It's just going to hurt you, and he doesn't even know who you are.
Yeah. Look at him. He's a drooling moron.
And the scene ends with her committing suicide. Oh well, all hope is gone. Thank you for your honesty.
And so then we cut back to Frankenstein once again talking about, yes, I figured out how to transfer brains, but Brant is the one who knows how to preserve the brains, and so think about it, we could preserve the greatest minds of all time. Yeah. Their bodies die, but their genius lives on, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It all sounds like, perfectly
that's
legit.
The end game for Frank. That's a little small scale for Frankenstein, in my opinion.
But, well, I think weirdly he's also facing his own mortality, and he's looking forward to a time with his own brilliant, yes, and a sexy younger body.
Yes.
It doesn't even have to be a guy.
Yeah.
In fact, be a hot lady.
In fact, I'd kind of prefer it not to be a guy.
Is Anna well? Yeah. Doesn't have any medical conditions or anything?
I better examine her thoroughly. So
Frankenstein becomes Woman is the next one.
Hello, boys.
Oh my God, if it was Veronica Carlson but ADR with Peter Cushing's voice.
That'd be the greatest Frankenstein movie ever.
Holy shit. And she's really hot, except for she always wears her hair long. When she pulls it back, you see a little stitching across the top of her head. Oh my God, I love this.
An unaltered Peter Cushing voice coming out.
Yes. Oh my, it's not her doing an impression. Oh my God, I want to see that badly too. Okay. Moving on.
So Carl, so Carl says, he goes in, he's like, yes, I'm just going to sedate the crazy Spider Woman, and then the head doctor's like, what are you doing? Because she's not freaking out. He's like, well, she was having a rough day earlier.
I just thought I would pre-medicate her.
And he's just like, of all the things I expect, unethical behavior, Carl. Good God. He's really pissed.
He really is. He will not have someone getting pre-medicated.
So, we didn't sedate the woman who could be trouble later. That's not good.
Yeah, I think that will perhaps come back to bite them.
Yes. So Frankenstein arrives at the back door to this place, and Carl lets him in. He says, hey, look, I couldn't sedate that woman. He goes, oh, well, then we go on without it. The show must go on, son. And so, they sneak in, and Frankenstein, the guard at the who's supposed to be, he's asleep. We can hear him snoring. And I love this little bit from Frankenstein where he reaches in and grabs the keys off the guy's desk and then clobbers the guy with the keys.
Yep.
So that guy's down. I'm just like, ooh, once again, just cold-hearted Frankenstein makes me happy for some reason.
Again, I prefer it so much to the sort of wimpy version we've had for a couple of
Oh, the
movies.
woe is me Frankenstein in that, where he's just like, why doesn't everybody love what I'm doing? That's not my Frankenstein. This is a Frankenstein who's just like, I will not be deterred. Whoever I have to kill, cheat, lie to, blackmail.
Yeah, or rape.
Yeah. That is up for grabs what he exactly gets out of that. But we'll get to the scene because I agree with what Cushing said about the character. So they enter Brant's cell, and they're just like, hold still, little buddy. We're just going to inject this real quick. And Brant starts flipping out when they try to inject him.
Yeah, as you would.
So the woman next door starts screaming then. And they're like,
Yeah,
oh, great. Here we go. And then Frankenstein just beats Brant into unconsciousness.
Yep.
Love it. I don't know why he's working the body so much though if he's trying to knock him unconscious, because he gets the first couple gut shots in there.
He does, but also I keep thinking, I know that you're in a tight spot and you're trying to find a way out, but maybe cudgeling the brain that you want to later put into another, maybe this isn't the best thing to do.
Just him going, go to sleep. Come on.
Doesn't your gut hurt so bad you just want to be unconscious right now?
I don't need the stump. Maybe that's why he didn't start with the head. Could do damage to the brain, so he just starts.
Protect the brain.
Come on.
They eventually get him, out.
Yes, they do. And then the doctor who came to respond to the screaming woman finds the syringe on the ground and is like,
yep.
Then he finds the guard knocked unconscious. He says,
and he grabs the guard's whistle.
Yeah, and starts whistling.
And then Frankenstein and Carl are like, they're going to release the dogs.
I was like, wait a minute, we're going to release the hounds now?
Yeah.
And by God, they do. And apparently, and there's guys, on the leashes of these hounds. Apparently, they just have guys and dogs ready to go at all hours of the night. What do I do for a living? I'm one of the dog guys at the local asylum.
I'm one of the dog guys. It says right here on my business card.
Asylum dog guy. So yeah, they released the hounds. The hounds are now chasing after them. Although, once again, not really. There's no close call with the dogs at all.
No, it's just heightened because again, they're sitting there going, people kind of been talking too much. We got to do something here.
Yeah.
So it's a little moment of dun 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 dun.
Yeah. So
run.
They escape in the coach, but they make it back because it's all right. Because then we have Frankenstein examining Brant while Anna treats the wounds that Frankenstein gave him, pummeling him into unconsciousness.
Yeah.
And she is talking, once again, there's something about, once again, she's going why are we doing this? I don't understand. He's like, oh, shut up. He just tells her that's it. Good God, woman, shut up. There's a lot of him just silencing people in this movie, which I love.
Yeah.
So yeah, they, then the police have to go tell Mrs. Brant that her husband was taken. And they're saying hey, just out of curiosity, what was the crazy brain thing he was working on in his research? Just, just from background. And did he know this guy Frankenstein by any chance?
We're just hinting around at something that the audience is very far ahead of. So. But it's also planting seeds, I guess, in Brant's wife's head.
Yeah.
Because when she eventually sees Frankenstein, she's like, he seems familiar.
Because she does have that Frankenstein attitude when they bring him up here.
Yeah, one thing that we may not have stated is that it was Frankenstein and Brant did know each other. Mm-hmm. They corresponded. So it wasn't by accident that Frankenstein ended up in the town where Brant was in the lunatic asylum. So he needs Brant's brilliant formula for preserving brains.
Yes. And
the only way he can get that is by curing him of his insanity and sticking his brain in another body.
Love it. Love it. So Carl comes back and he goes, hey, the police have figured out that whole thing was an inside job at the asylum. And and Frankenstein says, "You think that's bad? This guy's having a heart attack." He says, "I don't have time to worry about that because Brandt has a bum ticker."
That is a great impression of Peter Cushing in that scene. You think that's bad? This motherfucker over here is having a fucking heart attack.
And he does,
I mean, look at this dude.
And so this is when he says, "We got to get his brain into a new body fast because he's not going to even survive the surgery."
Yeah,
he goes, openly
put the brain in another body first.
Yeah,
then cure the insanity.
That's how we're gonna have to do it. So yeah, Frankenstein needs to transfer brain, and they're like, "Well, we'll have to murder somebody." He goes, "Yeah,
yeah, yes, and
yeah." I thought, and this is where he busts out once again. He's like, "You didn't seem to have a problem with it the other night when you just stuck that guy."
Ooh. Man, you don't give him any ammunition because he will just keep bringing it back.
Mm-hmm.
He will rub it in.
Well, what? I saw you murder somebody the other night.
God damn it, I can't.
You always bring that up.
You stab one night watchman, and this is what you get.
Whatever, I'm not that impressed. I was cutting off heads back in my old town.
I had a mask. It would have freaked you out. This mask was awesome.
Yeah, by the way, when they were sneaking around stealing stuff, wouldn't that have been a good time for the mask to come back?
Would have been a great time to bring that mask back. And maybe even make one for Carl.
Yeah, we can both look like hideous freaks.
We could both look like the guy from the Six Flags commercial.
Oh, that always gets...
Then they all start dancing.
It always gets stuck in my head. Now I want to go to Six Flags.
You like roller coasters, Carl? Do you like movies about gladiators? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's totally unrelated.
Yeah. Never mind. I was just watching Airplane the other night. It's very funny.
Something that hasn't even been invented yet.
The movies or airplanes. Yeah, so they go take Richter.
Right.
Off screen they take Richter.
Yep.
Because Anna's walking around at night and she sees that they have Richter and they're like, "Go away, Anna. You're not supposed to see this."
Yeah, it's the one time they're kind of like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I don't know why. She's been in on everything else.
Right.
And then, yeah, this is where he's like, "Yes, take Richter downstairs and prepare him." And yeah, because Frankenstein's got some raping to do, apparently. This scene comes out of nowhere. I think actively negates things I think about the character and does nothing for the plot.
Yes. It also really sticks out store thumb wise, plot wise, simply because all it is Carl go get something. Mm-hmm. Oh, Carl's away. And then Frankenstein walks by Anna's open door, mm-hmm. bedroom door, and she's in a diaphanous nightgown.
Wouldn't
ding,
you know
ding,
it?
ding. Mark that on your bingo card. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh, close my door." And he comes inside.
I actually would have been fine with this scene if he was just ogling her. Like, he just sort of stopped and was like, and she got uncomfortable and shut the door. Because then that would have just been general unease about the guy. Like, it's just like, he's just kind of a creep.
Yeah, a creep beat. But instead, Michael Carreras, one of the heads of Hammer, this was something he made them make. They didn't want to, it wasn't in the original script. And he thought for the US version, we need more sex. Mm-hmm. So against the director and star's wishes, they did this scene. And it's not graphic. It's just gross.
It was supposed to, well, can I read something here from the IMDb trivia about this?
I want you to.
They have a little history of this scene here.
Okay, go.
As we said, the controversial rape scene was added at the last minute after shooting was nearly complete. Veronica Carlson talked about it in a 2011 interview. She originally said the plan was to have Peter Cushing strip off her blouse and expose her breasts. But Cushing refused. "We were all disgusted with it. Jimmy Carreras came onto the set one day, obviously upset because he'd had word from the higher ups, the distributors, that there wasn't enough sex in the movie. There had to be a rape scene, which I don't know. Okay, why there had to be a rape scene? It could have just been a sex scene or something. But
could have been a love scene.
Yeah,
could have been Carl and Anna.
Terry thought he was quite cross. I remember that, and I thought that was out of character for him because he was a lovely, all-fatherly figure. Peter Cushing told me, "Darling, I don't like this any more than you do." So we worked out how to do it between us. They wanted him to strip me to take hold of my neckline and tear it down to my waist, you see. Peter said, "I'm not going to do this." That's why we worked it out between ourselves. We assured Terry that we knew what we were doing. He let us do what we were comfortable with. After we shot the scene, Peter just held me. I was trembling, and he was trembling. We were both so upset, we just stayed there, very, very still until we composed ourselves, and then we got up and walked out. It was the only time I felt such a somber atmosphere on a Hammer film.
Wow.
Peter Cushing, gentleman all the way.
Yeah. Like I said, it does avoid nudity. It's still, of course, gross.
Yeah.
And again, the way you can tell this sticks out is that it's not mentioned. It does not come back. She does give him looks for the rest of the movie, but she's giving him those looks.
She'd be giving him those looks for blackmailing them and doing bizarre experiments anyway.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing where I say he's already a bad guy. We don't need to further prove his evil.
And the fact that you saw that scene and that I saw that scene is the fact that we saw the American release.
Yeah.
Because the UK release did not have the scene. However, most sources that you get now, Blu-ray, DVD, have the scene put in as if it was, well, you don't want a censored cut. Yeah, but movie would have been fine without it.
Honestly, actually, that there's not nudity in it, in some ways, then eliminates the
point of it being erotic.
That's, I guess, what I'm saying is the why am I blanking on the word for it? The exploitative. Jesus, why can't I think of that word? That sometimes you just can't get exploitative nature of it, which is just they want to put tits in the movie. But so without that, it's not sexy. It's just a heroin because it's. I mean, Fisher shoots it in a very
totally clear. John is not saying that there are sexy ways to shoot a rape scene.
No, there aren't. But I'm talking about if you just want to inject nudity to be exploitative. Number one, there are numerous other ways to. That's why I don't understand why we need to get more sex. Rape scene. Why not a sex scene between Anna and Carl or something?
Yes, or if it was necessary, and of course it's never necessary, but you could have had Frankenstein just being a voyeuristic perv, and it could have been her undressing and then being startled by him seeing her. Then you would have had nudity, maybe just from the back or something.
That's the thing. I don't understand the jump to people want rape.
Yeah, that's weird. Michael Carreras, that's not a good look.
Look, this is not a Michael Winner film, okay?
Ooh. Talk about sexy rape scenes.
Holy God, I don't think I've ever seen a Winner movie without a rape scene in it.
You got to have your stamp.
There are, if anyone's seen the...
This is clearly a Michael Winner movie, right here.
If anyone's seen the documentary about the history of Cannon films, there are a lot of upsetting stories about Michael Winner in there.
Which documentary about Cannon? Because there's like two, and they're both really good.
Electric Boogaloo is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. But anyway, I don't think he never makes his way into Hammer, although god damn it seems like he would have.
It does.
Yeah. Anyway, so that upsetting scene happens, and we don't need to go into it anymore because it affects the plot in no way.
In no way. It's right up there with Frisch. Again, a last minute addition that added nothing to the film.
Yep. And those are where the problems with this movie are. There's just junk in here.
Yeah.
Because there's a good movie that they then just, I guess they weren't comfortable with it being more of a pot-boiling thriller.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, we got to jazz this thing up with a bumbling cop and a rape.
I don't know where their head was at, but it without that scene, it would have affected the plot in no way, but it would have been, without that scene, the most sexless of the ones we've seen lately.
Yeah.
Not that that's good or bad.
I'm
Keep in mind,
fine with it.
at the same time, the movies we're not talking about that Hammer's making over the last year or
Yes.
two, 68, 67, 69, are all of the prehistoric woman films
Yeah.
and She and all that. They are definitely saying, oh, they do like our ladies.
Yeah.
So if they had taken that scene out entirely, it would have been Veronica Carlson never in a diaphanous nightgown, even for a second, but the movie didn't need it. It's just they felt, I guess, that that's what their international audiences wanted. But luckily, we pretty quickly get to the other thing that Hammer's known for. Pretty quickly.
It's pretty much immediately after he's committed a sex crime that he's like,
Yeah.
all right, time to open up some skulls.
Oh my God. And they are getting better at this stuff. This is
Ooh.
uncomfortable.
I loved all of this because once
I
again,
know.
it's what we talked about. I don't remember
He
which one
sells
it is.
it. He
Yeah, the
sells
one
it.
where it starts with him cutting that head open. This is that to the next level where it's just like, this is my work.
Yeah.
He's a pro at this.
That was in Created Woman, where he starts off and it's just him sawing away.
Because here he's got his scalpel out, and then he grabs that saw and he just takes the top of this head right off. And it looks pretty good.
It does look pretty good and gross.
The
And
sawing
they're doing
happens
good
off
stuff
camera,
with
but then when they yank the top of the head off, we see.
the sawing is off camera, but they're doing really good sound stuff.
Mhm.
Where I'm sitting there going, "Oh yeah, yeah," they're doing something with a saw against something with the kind of resistance that bone would have. Because I was like, going, "Oh, blah."
Yeah.
I can be a little squeamish. I mean, I do love a horror film, and I'm not afraid of gore because I know it's all crazy fake.
Mhm.
But it's the concept of these things. So even if they're not showing it, I'm like going, oh. And they do have Carl, who's a doctor, but he's a youngster still. He looks away a little bit. He's like, okay. Okay.
Well, because also being a doctor doesn't necessarily mean you're slicing open skulls and yanking brains. Like that's all right. This is too much for me.
He opens up Richter's head, takes out the brain, plops it, and then he goes, and now the same technique over here.
Yeah.
And goes, or wait, does he?
No.
He does Brant's first.
Yeah.
And then goes over to Richter to open his skull, take his brain out, and just toss it.
Yeah.
Don't need that brain no more.
And then after he's finished up, he's sewing up the head and stuff, and he just goes, "Yes, see, brains transplanted. That's right. All right, now let's go bury Richter's body or Brant's body. Let's go bury that body real quick.
How about in the flower garden?
Perfect. Yes." And so they.
John, you didn't get a call back for this movie, did you?
I didn't. They said that I kept adding mysterious and evil yeses to everything I said.
The script doesn't say laugh. The script does not say anything about a laugh after that
that's
line.
what the character would do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your additions. Sure.
I would be like, put that over there. Yes.
Well, I can only say the right actor got the part.
Yeah, no once I saw the movie, I went, I see. Yeah. I was way off.
And hadn't been born yet. So you had a lot of things stacked against you.
I'll sign for this package. Yes.
It's like Tobias Funke doing the fire sale commercial. Fire sale.
I think
How afraid am I of the fire?
I think I may have overemphasized the fire and underemphasized the sale.
Oh God. Anyway.
So then, what's this? They go to bury the body and knock, knock, knock. It's the fuzz. But here's the thing that indicates where the inspector was added. It's not the inspector. It's random cops that we've never seen in any other part of the movie. Going.
They are searching the neighborhood.
Yeah, we got to search this house. And Carl is painting the staircase so that they don't know there's a door in it.
Yeah.
And this cop goes, aren't you that doctor from the asylum? And he's like, yes. He said, boy, it seems like poor work for a doctor.
He's like, well, it's my day off, and I just came over to help my girlfriend repaint her stairs. Nothing weird about
And they
that.
do the classic thing where he's like, and then they look around and they leave, and he goes, makes a better doctor than a painter.
Oh, it was good.
Well, because yeah, it's that classic thing where it's like, oh no, he's on to him. No, he's actually just disapproving of his paint job.
There you go. Oh, it's classic.
You know those cops always shaking their heads at the way people paint stuff.
They also did go in the flower garden and walked around and looked suspiciously, but they didn't do any digging there. So obviously, everything's fine.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Frankenstein he goes, yes, come here. I found the location of the insanity in the brain.
Oh God, this is nuts. He's like, yes, right here. There's was a pressure against the motor centers of the brain. You're like, what the fuck?
Yes, it's all here, and this is where he busts out his drill and he drills into the skull, and he uses a needle, and he's like, they're done and done.
He tree pans the guy and then does a top down lobotomy to fix the insanity.
And it's just
easy as pie.
A couple of pokes with the needle, and it's all good.
All good. Now he just has to wait for bandaged up guy to wake up.
Yes. Now we play the waiting game. Meanwhile, Frankenstein's walking around on the streets, and this is where Brant's wife recognizes him. Like, I know that man from somewhere.
Oh my God! When she puts two and two together is one of my favorite scenes in this thing. But we're not there yet.
We are not there yet, because we have Anna working out in the flower garden.
She's working out. Literally like an 80s kind of aerobicized thing. She's in a leotard. Very strange.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the Flashdance soundtrack had already come out in '69. She's a maniac in the flower garden.
She's gardening like they've never done before.
No, she's out there, and suddenly, wouldn't you know?
Water starts spraying out of the ground, and it's shooting up the body a little bit too. Because at first I thought, oh my God, is this guy rising from? No, it's just the water's moving his arms. And and she's like, oh my God.
This is weirdly, I mean, strangely, this scene is effective. Veronica Carlson does a fine job with this because she's losing her shit. Because she can't stop this. It's a leak. It's a pipe exploded underneath the garden.
Come to think of it, we may have hit a water main when we were burying that body.
This is an Edgar Allan Poe moment, and it's actually sold for that kind of tension because you have like neighbor woman coming over going, oh, the worst kind of luck. Oh, you should have someone come by and she goes, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Anna's like, because she's trying to keep the woman from seeing the corpse.
And then she's like, well, that's the last time I ever help you.
Yeah. It's like, leave me alone, goddammit.
Yeah. I said, get out of here. And so, that woman leaves. And then when Frankenstein comes back, he sees that people are fixing this pipe, and he's like, oh no. But Anna's like, no, the body's over here now.
Yeah, she gives a kind of look like, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Now let's get to the scene where she puts two and two together, Mrs. Brandt.
Mrs. Brandt, who is we've barely seen her. Middle-aged woman, wife of the catatonic crazy doctor. And she's already been asked by the cops, do you know who Frankenstein is? And she goes, well, the name vaguely, but I don't think I ever met the dude or whatever. Just get out of here. My husband is insane and he's been stolen. She's at home and she's like, I saw a person on the street and the face was so familiar. And then the friend, who's this other woman?
Yeah, that's the woman who was with her on the street too, you know.
Right. It's like, well, did he look anything like this? And it's an editorial cartoon.
Yes.
And it's 18 whatever editorial cartoon. Caricature of Brandt, younger Brandt, and Dr. Frankenstein doing crazy science or something.
Mm-hmm.
They're being mocked in German. Though
Yeah.
at least I did appreciate that the newspaper was in German.
Yeah, I mean, no one speaks German or has a German accent in the movie, but sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we know we're somewhere around there. But and she goes, yes, his face looked very much like that. But I'm like, what?
I know, I love
And
this.
it's a caricature.
That's him!
That's him.
I'd know that face / drawing anywhere.
He looks exactly like Bazooka Joe.
Oh, that's the wrong page. I'm sorry. Let me.
His face off a bubblegum wrapper. That's him. Jack the Ripper is Bazooka Joe.
My God. So.
Well, I'd say he looks almost exactly like Ziggy. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Later on, it's just like, oh no, have they discovered me because of that caricature in the paper this morning?
The fact that I have an enormous balloon round head and I wear a simple frock and have rounded off simple legs and feet. Oh my God. I'm loopy, man. I got no sleep. I apologize to our listeners and to my God.
So,
all right.
Meanwhile, Frankenstein is reviving Brandt in the lab, but just the base level of consciousness, he says.
Yes.
So he's getting him to answer questions by raising his arm.
All right. I also have to talk about this.
And
all right.
Start rant number 2. No,
it's not a rant, but good Lord, the very first question he asks to get the guy to lift his hand, where the camera is placed, and the fact that Brandt's hand is underneath the sheet, it looks like his penis rises up. It looks like he goes, is your name Dr. Brandt? And then he gets an erection.
I knew I shouldn't have worn my short shorts in the lab today.
I am Dr. Frankenstein. Do you remember me? And Brandt's penis rises again.
Ooh, he does remember me.
Like, why couldn't it have been the hand outside of the sheet? Because later shots, they at least move the camera over to where you can see that it's a hand. But those
because we're trying to add sexiness to this film.
Michael Carreras is like, can we make it vague to where it looks like his cock just keeps going up, right? Every time he gets asked a question, he gets like this boner. It's enormous. Because, not everyone's into the tits. Maybe people are there for the cock. Yeah. So up it goes. Up
we want to serve both audiences.
You know what? We're progressive. Yeah. It's everyone's. I'm not kink shaming.
Yeah.
So he answers his questions with an erection.
Yeah.
Put that in there.
Maybe some people are into that random short bursts of erections. I don't know.
This movie needs more rapes, more erections, and a stupid, not funny policeman.
Can we make that happen?
Let me see the final cut on Thursday. Yeah. Hey, I don't know why Michael Carreras now has that accent.
That's but right. It's me, producer Michael Carreras.
Veronica, come here. I want to talk to you about a new scene. I don't think you're going to like it.
Oh, you were going to hate it.
I put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of thought.
I have some drawings here.
I'm not much of an artist, but you can tell what bit is what. Yeah. It's horrible.
That's what I imagine he was like.
I think he had a Spanish accent because his father, who started the company, was Spanish.
And actually, from the sound of her story, he was even a little bit pressured into it too from distributors. So.
Yeah, he was not this creep that I have invented. But don't worry, you'll probably hear from him again.
He's a London street creep. Yeah.
He says me to look some lesbians into this, right? Like maybe Frankenstein created lesbians. I'm Blue Sky in a title. Yeah. Blue Sky in it.
It's a world without lesbians. until Frankenstein comes.
I've got the postage department already working up the production art. It looks nice.
Yeah, it's gonna have 10 taglines.
Veronica, how are you with girl action? You down with it? No. Oh.
Okay.
Where's Ingrid Pitt? All right.
She'll do it for sure. So
we still haven't gotten to Ingrid, and I love Ingrid, but
yes.
sadly, we're only going to have a couple of movies with her in our podcast because she did a lot with Hammer.
Yeah.
But really, as far
she's
as the vampires,
definitely someone really well associated with Hammer, though, and certainly a regular.
Yeah, we're not doing Countess Dracula because it's not a true vampire film.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. Look, these are hard decisions that have to be made on this show.
It's Elizabeth Bathory. It's not supernatural.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit, but it's more like
not really. It's not a monster movie, though.
No, it's not. Sorry.
So
man, I just heard people turning off. I literally heard people shutting off the radio.
So knock, knock, knock at the door. Now it's Mrs. Brandt who's going. Yep. Yeah, I want to see that Frankenstein.
I know it's him. I know he's here.
Yeah. And Anna's like, and then Frankenstein comes and goes, "Oh yes, Mrs. Brandt, I was just about to call you. In fact,
Cushing is so awesome here because he's just thinking on his feet and he's like going, I'm glad you came. I was literally, it is me.
Mm-hmm.
I was just about to come look you up because something amazing has happened. Yes, I've got your husband, but I've cured him. I just have to prepare you for what's happened.
I had to take him from that asylum because I'm the only one who could cure him." And she's like, "Cure him? What?"
Yep.
And then she said, "You're the one that made him mad in the first place. Like, just come downstairs for a second."
Well, yep. I really thought he was going to offer downstairs.
I did too. I know. I kind of wanted that to happen. I just wanted to kill more.
Gross, John.
I am the sick bastard on this show who just wants more murder. There's never enough
body
murder.
count. What's the body count in this one?
I used to rent movies looking at rating reasons for things that had like strong bloody violence when I was in high school and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, just violence? That's not enough. I need graphic violence or gore.
Understood.
Yeah.
You looked at those alphabet listings at the beginning of every HBO show and you're like going, sexual content's good, but is it strong sexual content?
You know what?
Is it SSC?
Yeah. I did always look for SV, though, which once again was strong violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So let's see. So she shows up. He leads her downstairs and he says, Hey. He's sane now. He's totally sane. I fixed him. And
this all sounds good so far.
Yeah. And she's like, he's sane? They said he'd never be sane. And then he's like, he's just under these bandages, and she's screaming and going, "Oh my God, what have you done, you monster?" He's like, Hey, calm down. Look, just ask him questions, and he can only communicate by raising his arm or maybe another body part. We don't want to look under the sheet.
I will say this. I mean, she's completely, clearly, and smartly, she's just wary. It doesn't matter how many times he tries to sugarcoat it. Like, I've cured him.
Yeah.
He's now sane. She's still looking at him like, what? But then she's willing to give it a go. But the thing is that doesn't she realize, his face is bandaged, but that nose is sticking out there. Can't you go, that's not my husband's nose?
No. Luckily, they had matching noses. So she asks questions. Does she remember what's her name? Things like that. Is her name? Because I do like Frankenstein going, is her name Elizabeth? Ooh, right. No. It's not. You just keep
What color's the hair? Is she a blonde?
Yeah.
No. Does she have auburn hair? And then the penis goes up, and then. And then
he was always into my auburn hair.
Proves it's him, and she's amazed.
This is my favorite. One of my favorite Cushing bits in this movie is when he's taking her back upstairs out the door. He goes, "See, look, I'll be in contact soon when he's better. There's nothing to worry about now. No worries at all." She leaves. He closes the door and immediately goes, "Pack, we're leaving."
I know. He goes, "Pack." It's almost a Knick-Knack Tabasco moment,
It
because
really
he just belts it out like, pack, we're leaving.
We got to get the fuck out of here right now.
Yeah, weirdly, he lets her go and then immediately says, yeah, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So they're not packing themselves up. Obviously, they've got to pack up Brant now.
Yeah. I just love the idea of like, the jig is up. Twice in this movie,
who's been down this road before.
That's what I mean. This really does feel like the sequel that we wanted to a certain extent.
Yeah. He knows villagers with pitchforks are coming, so he's getting the fuck out of town.
Trust me, I know how this ends, and it's not pleasant.
I need to drive a team of horses very vigorously.
And by God, we cut right to him doing that.
Yes,
He's on his way out of town. And yeah, if you thought we were getting out of this movie without some horse whipping, here goes Cushion with the whipping of the horses. It doesn't go on. It doesn't have nearly the amount that the last week's movie did.
We're letting you guys out there with that particular fetish know that this does not equal last week's, but still there's something there for you. It's just not going to be as good.
I just like the idea of somebody just going, all right, I'll take it off of my Netflix list then. Don't send it to me. Never mind.
Oh, wow, they're still getting the discs. Very nice.
This movie's not available to stream yet.
I'm taking it off my queue.
I specifically signed up for the discs only to watch horse whipping movies. As I noticed, there's no horse whipping section on your app.
Not even as a keyword search. Come on, guys. Get your act together.
There are dozens of us out there.
And no, spell check, I'm not constantly looking for the horse whisperer.
Although Robert Redford does melt my heart.
The horse whipperer is what I'm looking for.
Have they discussed a sequel called to that, maybe? He turns against the horses and starts whipping them.
This is wrong. This is where our funny goes wrong, and people are disgusted with us. And
it happens every episode. We cross a line at a certain point.
John, I want to say I just appreciate the fact that you field all the emails.
They come to me.
Block me from all the hate.
I do,
and
I see them come in, and I move them right into the trash. Yes,
that's what I like.
I have stopped reading them long ago because there's just too many upset people.
Hear that, listeners?
Yeah. We keep hearing from the horse people.
I can't believe they just go on and on about these poor horses. The ones getting whipped.
There's nothing funny about the whipping of horses, all right? It's a huge problem that we're trying to get under control. and you fellas just keep encouraging it. And wasn't your show about monsters? Kind of.
Well, don't monsters whip horses?
That's what we've been saying for years. You'd have to be a monster to whip a horse.
I am a representative of SHW, SHU, which is Stop Horse Whipping. And we at SHU are anti-Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters because they keep talking about the poor horses that get whipped.
Stand with SHU. Boycott Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters.
They're truly the monsters. They enjoy seeing those horses get mercilessly whipped.
I'm still laughing at SHU.
SHU. Stop horse whipping.
Please make all your checks payable to SHU.
SHU. Or you can make it out to cash.
Yeah. That's fine too.
Brendan Douglas Jones. Oh dear.
That's one of the dumber runs we've gone on.
Yeah,
all right.
And I'm proud of it.
So,
that's the one that goes in my time capsule.
They take off. Mrs. Brandt goes back to the house, and she's like, hello? Is anyone home? Knock, knock, knock.
Place is fucking empty.
Place is empty, so she decides to go in the back door, go through the garden, and I'm going, well, I have a pretty good idea of what she's going to find back here. And yeah. She goes into the hang on, where was it? Yeah, she goes into the garden and she calls the police
Yep.
And she's like, well, here's what happened. They said that they stole my husband to fix his brain, and then he got a few correct erections, and I call them corrections. And uh, and so I knew it was him, I guess.
Corrections and emissions. We should just stop. And then the movie ends. Sorry, everybody.
You know what? That's
Sorry,
it. We can't do this show anymore. This has gotten way too silly.
Too damn silly. Anyway, yes.
They're digging around, and the police go, "Ooh, what's this?" And she rushes in, and yes, it's her husband under some floorboards. And
she sees his body.
Bloody murder, of which it is, I guess, so it's appropriate.
Yeah. Well, kind of. Not really. He survived.
Yes, he is still alive. It's just a badly mangled body.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't know how much time has passed. There's not an ounce of decomposition on this thing or any kind of indication that
he's just dirty.
Yeah. So she's screaming, and somebody says, "Well, somebody get her out of here." No, they don't, but they should. And so anyway, Frankenstein. They've now holed up. I don't know where they've holed up Frankenstein, and some.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some like blown out castle-looking place from the inside of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think there's much exposition as to where they are.
Frankenstein's checking on the body, and he's talking to the body, and he's like, "Oh yes, my friend. Soon you'll be awake again, and then you can tell me all your dirty little secrets." And Carl hears this, and he's like, "Oh no!" And so he runs to Anna and says, "Look, he's gonna wake him up in like an hour. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna sneak out and get the coach." And then you and I are going to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, Carl sees the writing on the wall, which is his usefulness is at an end.
Yeah.
Once Brandt is awake in Richter's body, then the experiment's over. And Carl and Anna, what use are they? So Frankenstein more than likely would just off them. So it's pretty smart. Carl's like, yep, get everything ready.
Yeah,
we're gonna leave him.
But meanwhile, Brandt has already woken up on his own.
Yep.
And he's like, what? And he peels the bandages off of his face, and he doesn't look at his hands like, these aren't my hands.
Yeah. He does the whole journey of what's going on. These aren't my hands, and then touches his face. Is like, that doesn't feel right. Touches the scar around his forehead.
No, none of this adds up.
Yeah. It's good.
It's good stuff, because this guy, who is this actor? This is
Freddie Jones.
He's really good here.
Freddie Jones. Look at this dude's career, man.
Freddie Jones.
He has been in stuff. So
he's in Dune. He's in Krull.
Yep. Elephant Man. He's an Elephant Man.
Wow, yeah. He's great in this. But we should say he is the creature of this movie, Awakening, and it has about 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
And here he comes. There's a lot of like looking around and a lot of like, oh, what's happening?
He's not even a creature. I mean, the thing with this is a successful.
He's still an abomination. Yeah.
He looks horrible, but he has he's now sane. He just happens to be in a different body, and he realizes, and he's not monstrously angered or anything, but he does realize this is something that has been done to him by Frankenstein, but he's not, instantly, no, he's just like, oh, fuck, what's going on?
Yeah.
In fact, he gets a pretty raw deal here very quickly.
Because Anna comes downstairs, and this guy appears to her from like behind a corner, and he's like, "Oh, don't freak out now. Look, I'm just a guy, all right? Just calm down, everybody."
He's basically doing that. He's basically saying like, no. But Anna, in typical monster movie, like, holy fuck, She stabs him in the gut.
Grabs a scalpel and guts him, yeah. And he's like, uh-oh!
Our, in quotes, creature has been ambulatory for all of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And has just been killed, essentially. What I do love is that for the rest of this movie, and let's say conservatively that we're dealing with 2 to maybe 3 more hours of time in the story.
Right.
Maybe 2 hours.
Right.
This guy is just... No, it may be even longer than that because he goes and visits his wife and all.
He does.
So is he just bleeding out for like a whole day?
Yeah.
Because he does always grip his gut, and he does sound like he's at death's door, but he does a lot of stuff for a guy who's been gutted.
He's like, just hold it together, then you can get Frankenstein.
Yeah, so Anna has stabbed our creature.
Yes, Anna stabbed the creature. Meanwhile, Carl is out getting the coach in the stable, but what's this? Frankenstein's waiting for him. He's like, going somewhere?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I was just... And then they start fighting.
Yeah.
And then they're rolling around on the ground, scuffling.
Again, we're not kink shaming. This is somebody's thing.
Oh, my.
Rewind, play.
Yeah.
Rewind, play.
Is there a slow motion setting on here?
Tussle, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tussle.
I want to see 2 scrawny Brits tussle.
They are both kind of scrawny.
I did think,
as always,
Cushing is older than him, but they seem evenly matched. Like,
yeah. Either it means that the younger guy is just kind of wimpy, or Peter Cushing is just a very spry older dude.
Yeah. So yeah, so Frankenstein gets the upper hand in this. He doesn't, but he just sort of, I guess, knocks him unconscious because he runs off and downstairs to check on his creature, which he finds not there. But Anna's there with the scalpel, and I love Cushing in this scene when he's like, "What did you do? What did you do to him?" And she's like, "I stabbed him with this scalpel," and then Frankenstein just fucking stabs her with it.
Just turns it right around and stabs her in the gut. And I mean, I like callbacks and circular storytelling, and the fact that Carl had accidentally stabbed the night watchman in a similar way. But I mean, I don't know what this serves. It's not really symbolic, but you have 2 innocents in a moment of panic killing someone, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Frankenstein doing it very much on purpose. Where he's like, fuck you. So Anna,
and it's right away, no thought even. It's just like, I stabbed him. Well, then I stab you. Like, just.
Yep. It's not even like you. It's just a quick, like, well, you're done.
Yeah.
And that's grim. I was like, what?
And I mean, murders her, which we haven't seen much of that in these movies. Usually the lovers end up together or whatever. But here, he just ends her. And I was like, damn, movie. This is what I'm talking about. This is horror. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
So she's dead. And Frankenstein runs off because he's got to find Brant. And meanwhile, we cut to Brant stumbling down the street, and somehow he gets on a carriage where he's just sort of like wrapped himself up and has been like, "No, I'm not a hideously scarred freak. I'm just a normal man on this carriage with you."
Yeah, it's a pretty quick cut, and he's just sort of like going, "I have a hat on and a scarf. No one can tell that I have a stitching wound all the way around my skull. I'm totally normal. And no one can tell that I'm bleeding out into this seat."
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key one. He's got apparently a gaping wound on his just pouring blood from his stomach.
Yeah, it's just pooling around him, but I guess it's dark and that no one can tell.
Mm-hmm. What's this I've just stepped in? Is anyone leaking blood in here?
Excuse me, gentlemen. Did you drop this blood?
Is this someone's blood?
Let me return this blood to you.
I think someone dropped their blood, honey. So, so yeah. Meanwhile, Carl finds Anna dead, and he's distraught over this, of course.
Yes, of course.
Very upset and now filled with rage, and he's going to track down Frankenstein. So everybody's out to get everybody at this point, except for the inspector, who's not involved in any of this. They couldn't have.
What was his
when they
point?
were adding footage, they couldn't have shot some sort of end to his part of the movie.
He could have just shown up at the like too late to do anything at the very end, but no.
And been like, my God, the massacre.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're in pursuit, and then Mrs. Brandt wakes up and finds a note next to her.
Yeah, this is weird. I mean, it's kind of nice, but kind of weird because he's still there.
Yeah, he's
behind
like a room divider thing, and he's like, I put it in the note so you wouldn't freak out when you see me.
It's a dressing screen, and he's sitting in again, still bleeding out, sitting in a chair behind the dressing screen, and the actor Freddie Jones is very good, and he's like, I'm so sorry, and you're probably freaked out because this is not the voice you remember.
Yeah,
but I am your husband. And I was there when you asked the questions about the color of your hair. It really is me.
That was my penis raising up and down.
That was my penis raising up and down. It was Carreras' idea.
Yeah.
Very sorry about that. So it's kind of touching, and she's still freaked out. Wouldn't you be? Well, I don't remember what happens next. Does he leave?
No, he says, oh no, he has this great line. I have become the victim of everything Frankenstein and I ever advocated.
Yeah. That's good.
And I really like that. And then he says, surely Frankenstein knows where I'm going, so he's headed here already. I have to keep you here so you don't alert the police. He's basically like, I have to finish this myself. And then she's like, is that your blood pooling from under there?
No, it's just another guy in here. I'll catch him. Don't worry. I'll let him know. This is where he basically is deciding this will be where his last stand is.
Yeah.
Is his home.
Yeah.
He's going to turn his home into ground zero for the showdown with Frankenstein.
Which, by the way, is how all of my favorite movies end. Pretty much. Yeah. He's going to Home Alone this situation.
In a very initially confusing way, and then you go, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, because this
is where he starts collecting lamps.
He's collecting lamps. He's looking through his papers, going like, yeah, I do have that formula. Which, if it's a formula that's just written down, then wouldn't it have been simpler for Frankenstein to just come here and ask for it, or break in or something, as opposed to doing all of this?
I don't know why Frankenstein couldn't have just shown up first day in town, said, I'm so sorry to hear about your husband's mental illness. We were working on something together. Can I see his papers?
Yeah, I don't get it either. It seems like
he could have just broken in, criminal style and stolen stuff.
Yeah, because obviously he is a persona non grata at the home de Brandt.
The Brandt home,
yeah. So yeah, he's looking. He's found his papers, and then Mrs. Brandt is like, I know, I'll escape out the attic. That will get me out of here, even though I'm being held against my will so that I don't alert the police. But then she makes her way downstairs and sees him in his office, and of course immediately faints upon seeing this man with the scars on his head and stuff. Yeah, and then he wakes up and he goes, this is why I didn't want to show you what I looked like. I knew this would happen. You're a fainter, dear. Let's be honest.
He doesn't get like a lot of scenes, but I will say that Freddie Jones, with all of his little bits, it's like he's going, this is my big Shakespearean monologue. And not in a hammy way, but he definitely, I'm making the most of every little line I get to say.
That line I wrote down earlier, he crushes that whole thing about, I am become what we set out,
And the thing that he says to Frankenstein at the end there is pretty great. I mean, he delivers it as they're like going, "What choice are you going to make?"
Oh,
Blah, 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 blah.
this climax rules. This might be my favorite climax in any of these movies, really.
It's pretty great.
Because Frankenstein does arrive. Let's see. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. At first, though, Mrs. Brandt grabs a gun out of a drawer,
Yes.
and I like where he's like, "You would kill me."
Yeah.
This is great stuff. So yeah, now he's got a gun and vengeance in his heart.
Yes.
This is where it is like, oh, I'll need that for revenge. That's what I've come here for. And so he sees that Frankenstein is approaching. Then we also see that Carl is right behind him. So Carl doesn't really need to be in this finale, I will say.
He doesn't, but it's just another mark of how grim this movie is.
Yeah.
That he comes in really wanting to get his revenge on Frankenstein for killing Anna, and instead Carl gets shot.
Yeah, Carl, because basically he comes to the door and then bang, he's just done for. Which I kind of like the ancillary, just like, you're dead.
Yeah, the young lovers in this movie don't end up together. They both die.
Which I love, because we always hate the young lovers.
Yeah, but and that's why I say this movie throws some of the tropes on its head, and whether it really works or not, I'm like, okay, I respect that. It's not what I was expecting was to have that happen.
Right.
But yeah, Frankenstein rushes in, and now it's just a
because he's got these oil lamps, Brandt does, and he's like, "You have 3 doors, Dr. Frankenstein."
This is so great.
This is total like comic book, death trap kind of ending.
Yeah, he goes, the formula's in one of those.
Yeah.
And I've got a gun.
Yeah, so he can't go anywhere because he's just holding him with the gun. And then
so he goes, it's your choice, man. A bullet or the fire?
A bullet or the fire? That line kicks ass. I love that line.
Because the doors are systematically, because of the lamps, the oil from the lamps is spread, and then the doors are catching fire, and Frankenstein
because every time he goes to pick a door, he's like, wrong door, and he throws a lamp at it and it explodes and the door is now burning and the whole place is, because we also saw him dumping lamp oil all over the house as well earlier, so he's just lighting his own place up, man.
Yeah, and his wife is safe. Don't worry, everybody. She did leave the house.
Yes, she's out of there.
But Brandt is basically, he's ready to. I mean, he knows he's dying too. Yeah. So it's like
he's been bleeding out from a stomach wound for about a day and a half.
About a day and a half, and so he's like saying, Frankenstein, you can have the formula. You just have to go through the fire, or I'll shoot you. And Frankenstein does eventually go into one of the burning, like a study, and does get the papers.
Yeah.
But the place is burning down.
And I love this move. He lights one of the pieces of paper on fire, so when he comes back out, he just puts it right in Brandt's face and burns it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now he's disfigured as well as all stitched up, and he's becoming more monstrous as it goes along.
It is true. And then Frankenstein's like, this is my chance. I'll get out of here.
Yeah.
He's got papers. He runs out, but Brandt's on him.
Yeah, with his dying breath, too, or whatever, dying strength, Carl does grab him so he doesn't get into a full sprint. So he's on the ground before he dies. Carl takes Frankenstein to the ground, which allows Brandt to grab him and be like, oh, no.
Oh, no, you don't. So he physically lifts. This is where you get this from the poster.
Yeah.
He lifts Peter Cushing, who weighs 75 pounds.
Oh, yeah. I think I could huck Cushing over my back. Yeah.
And basically just carries him right back into the house, which is now really burning. So he walks him into
engulfed in flames. It's an inferno. And I love this ending.
Yeah, because Frankenstein is wailing and kicking and going, no, no, no.
This is a
It's pretty
great
great.
Frankenstein ending where like the quote unquote monster is just like, we died together, you son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
That is how it ends. Brant monster grabs Frankenstein, takes him into the burning house. The end.
Yeah, we see some more like pieces of the house fall, and then the house is just burning in the end. And I think
then you get the credits.
that's great. Like just ending. This is the end of the movie. Doesn't feel abrupt to me. Just ending on this burning house is
no.
haunting.
It's good.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Because as the title told us, Frankenstein must be destroyed,
and he is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is no other films. This is the last one. This is where they killed Frankenstein. The character never comes back.
No, well, I wouldn't go that far.
What do you mean?
Well, we've got two more Frankenstein movies left before we're done with Hammer.
What? But John, I'm sorry. Did I just not watch an hour and 40-minute movie where Frankenstein was destroyed?
They said he must be destroyed, and they delivered on that promise. It happened, but apparently we're going to learn about the horror of Frankenstein, and then Frankenstein might meet, I don't know, maybe a monster from like hell.
Wow,
yeah,
that could only be the best in the series.
I mean, it's a monster from hell. Does it get any better than that?
I don't think so. I would only hope that it would have both Darth Vader and Moff Tarkin in the same movie. And it will.
Yeah, so in some ways it's a precursor to Star Wars.
Yeah, weirdly enough, James Earl Jones does voice the monster from hell also.
Dr. Frankenstein. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been too good actually. But
that would have ruled.
So yeah,
I would have loved that.
Like I said before, my overall feelings on this one, I do like the opening quite a bit. I like the end a lot. I like brain chopping in the middle. But there's a lot of this movie that really is kind of just
I agree. The highs are high, and I think that's the thing I like, where it's like the highs are really high, like unusually so for especially the recent Hammer stuff. So I think I was riding on that, but I agree. I did kind of check out a little bit in the middle. And
anytime inspectors or Mrs. Brandt, and not that I don't like any of these actors, but there's just nothing to these scenes.
There's one or two too many scenes with Mrs. Brandt.
Yes, Peter Cushing owns every scene he's in, and my attention always perks up, and he always delivers. That's great. But anytime he's not there, I mean, I could almost even deal with a Frankenstein movie like this one where there isn't really a Frankenstein monster. Created Woman also really didn't have a monster per se.
Created Woman, as we said, had some good ideas in it, but it just
the weird metaphysical stuff about souls being transferred.
And I like the idea of the vengeance carrying from one body to another so that the monster is the one seeking vengeance for the brain inside of it.
So, John, do you recommend this one to our listeners?
I do recommend this one. Even though it sags in the middle, this has some of the best Hammer stuff in it.
It is true. It's true. Man, and there's some great big old Clamato blood in it. So
there really is. And oh man, that opening blood splatter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fast forward through the rape scene and almost anything with Inspector Frisch, and you'll enjoy.
I want to recut this movie, and it wouldn't take very long at all. I could recut it quickly and lose probably
25 minutes.
25 easily. Get this thing down to a brisk 80 minutes.
A lean, clean 80 minutes.
Honestly, if it was that, I think this might be my favorite of them. Had it been that. Had it just been clipped down a bit and moved at a faster rate, I think this could have been the best in the franchise because there's so much good stuff in it. It's lost between stuff that just doesn't need to be there.
Man, I'm not sure what my favorite would be so far, but luckily I don't have to weigh in because we do have 2 more to go. But that's not next week. What's next week, John?
Well, I know you hate, as we said earlier, being told what to do, but Brendan, I'm going to have to ask you for next week to please taste the blood of Dracula.
Jesus. I love that title simply because it sounds Sounds like someone who looked in the fridge and they're not sure if the milk has gone bad yet or not. It's like, hey, taste the blood of Dracula.
Honey,
Is that
honey, could you taste the blood of Dracula?
you think it's
I
should I
looked at the
toss?
expiration date, but you know how those things are.
Give this a whiff.
Dracula's.
But
They say Dracula's blood lasts. Yeah.
It is Christopher Lee, so I am willing.
We are about to go back to back Christopher Lee Dracula movies with Taste the Blood of Dracula and The Scars of Dracula. The next 2 weeks on the
show. We got to look at release dates because I think maybe Vampire Lovers sneaks somewhere in there. They're all in the same year.
Horror Frankenstein is after Scars of Dracula, according to my list. So,
all right,
that might
doesn't
be
worry.
Too.
Don't worry, folks. Regardless, next week.
Figure it out. Next week is Taste the Blood of Dracula. We will sort out in what order to watch the following movies. But
yes, I'm having. I don't want to predict. I don't like predicting. Secretly, I love it. But my prediction is it would taste something like Caro syrup and red dye number 5.
I think that's a safe bet. I think that's a safe guess. Yeah.
All right. Well, join us next week.
Yes.
It's more Dracula.
Yes.
And
always, you too go ahead and taste the blood of Dracula in the time between.
Join us, won't you?
Yes.
Get a snifter ready.
Only the finest of glassware for the blood of Dracula.
A tumbler of the blood of Dracula.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
I got nothing. I'm so damn tired.